hyperdrive now.
Ellos han hecho un largo viaje. Desde las dunas de neón las islas incendiadas y hasta el desierto más remoto. Ahora esperan. La tormenta se va creando. La presión crece. El desafío final es ahora. El momento del ataque ha llegado. Una última chance para la gloria del campeonato. El Energy X Prix está aquí.
Hello and welcome to the title decider, the Season 2 finale, the Uruguay Natural Energy X Prix. This weekend, championship favourites and Season 1 winners Rosberg X Racing could make it 2 in a row, but the chasing pack is hot on their heels. I'm Andrew Coley, alongside me, Jenny Gow.
And we'll bring you all the action from the track as we highlight renewable energy and close out the season with what we hope will be another South American sensation. So obviously we started the season in Saudi Arabia. It was back in February and it was a win for Rosberg X Racing as they set out their stall for what they wanted to be a second campaign of wins all across the board.
Yeah, it was impressive, wasn't it? A first event, of course, for Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski alongside Kristoffersen, the champion. Great result for them. On then to Italy, Sardinia, which of course was actually a double header. Chip Ganassi Racing taking the first one of those two events. That was their first ever win. They came so close to doing it in Sardinia the year before. Yeah,
it wasn't quite to be. A second event in Sardinia followed in quick succession with Rosberg X Racing once again, proving that they were a little bit faster than everybody else. But things changed in Chile.
They did indeed. X44 Vida Carbon Racing took the win, but only after a lot of stewarding, let's say. There were down flags, all sorts of things were going on. It was actually a great race, but McLaren crossed the lead first, the line first, Neon McLaren, and had that taken away. So expecting another decent event down here. Different terrain, mud and grass, all good. Looking forward to it.
The title will be decided in Uruguay, and our season so far has been full of drama.
Massive crash, it's McLaren!
The opening race of Season 2 saw a huge collision between Neon McLaren and RXR. Despite having damage, RXR hunted down their rivals to take the first win of the season. An adrenaline-fueled doubleheader on the island of Sardinia followed. Round 2's dramatic final saw Johan Kristoffersen and Carlos Sainz come together in a huge shunt for the Spaniard.
Contact, massive shunt! Kristoffersen into Sainz!
Handing number 99 GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing a maiden victory. Round 3 saw RXR bounce back with a daring dive into the water by Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski that saw them take a well-deserved victory. The championship's first visit to South America followed as rivals battled to stay in the title fight in Antofagasta, Chile.
Contact!
The chasing pack were handed a boost when RXR retired ahead of the final due to a technical issue. And we are green, we are on the charge in Chile. X44 Vida Carbon Racing muscled their way into the lead before a series of dropped flags meant potential time penalties for the front runners.
Now Gutierrez has hit a flag!
Every second would count. McLaren and X44 continued to battle all the way to the end, with Emma Gilmore crossing the finishing line first.
Gilmore takes it from McLaren.
However, post-race penalties meant that it was X44 who were crowned winners of the Copper X Prix. Now it all comes down to the final fight on the shores of Punta Del Este and its advantage, Rosberg X Racing.
For me to win the championship, it would be massive. I've never won a championship. It would mean so much, but it's still very tight. So we have to stay on our toes, do the best that we can do, and approach this weekend just like we do with every weekend.
Coming to the last race of the year in the lead and also as defending champions, that is a great feeling. You always have a little bit of a target on your back when you arrive. And yeah, we had some close fights during the year, so there will be elbows out definitely for the last event. But I think me and Michaela will just try to focus on what we can do and maximize our performance. It's going to be a tight fight, but yeah, we will do absolutely everything that we can to try and secure this championship.
So I think that pretty much sets everything up. It gives you a real idea of what's going on, and look at these championship standings, because as we said, Rosberg X Racing lead the way, a 17-point advantage over X44 Wiedenkarber Racing. Acciona Science still in the mix, as is GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing. All of those 4 teams battling this weekend, and as you can see, a few driver lineup changes as well. We'll go through all of that when our cars hit the track.
Yeah, I think that the key here is 4 teams in the title mix, but 10 teams who could, in theory, take a victory. Since the cars have been updated, and certainly since some of the driver pairings have been mixed up, I just think this is going to be super close. And talking of driver pairings, we caught up with all of the drivers before the event.
Punta Del Este is fantastic. Uruguay is such a beautiful country. Driving here from the hotel along the coastline, pulling into sight, seeing the track, you know, it's a great venue, and I think we're gonna have a blast racing around here.
I think I've been here like 25 years ago, so I have roughly an idea what I was going to find, but different type of surface, very grassy.
The track looks very cool, quite technical, grass, which I've never raced on before. I've done loads of gravel and tarmac, but no grass. So now the track is new for everyone, and I actually get to do the track walk, the free practice 1 and 2, which is super nice. So I get to be fully prepared for when the actually points start to count. So it's a nice feeling.
The location is it's a fantastic, you know, and will be the first time, I think, even for me, to race in the grass, green grass, you know.
From what I can see of the course so far, I think it's going to suit us well. It looks like it's fast. It also looks like it's quite smooth from what we can see. Until the track beds in a bit, it's going to be very, very slippery in the first few laps that are done out there. And it will be interesting to see actually how the track changes over the course of the weekend.
From rallycross experience, whenever you touch grass, it turns to mud quickly, which turns to deep ruts, which can damage a car if you slide over them, or can roll a car if you hook them hard.
Yeah, I think the plan definitely is to do the best we possibly can, right? Obviously, we want to go out there and win, and we have a championship on the line that we really want to get, but the odds have to definitely be in our favor for that to happen. We're going to go out there, show our stuff, be as fast as we possibly can.
We need to take as much as possible points in this race, and we'll see what happens in the finish.
It's a crucial weekend for us. Okay, we are not in the best position to win the championship, but the only thing we can do is to try to win the race and score as many points as possible.
We need Rosberg team and X44 team not really performing very well, having some trouble and some issues, and we can win. At the end, of course, if you have a possibility, you will fight for it.
Well, you heard the drivers talking about the track already. Here is a little look at it. We've got riverbeds. They were dry. There's been some rain, as the drivers were saying. You actually saw the roll as well for Emma Gilmore. That happened in FP1 yesterday. It literally dug in. She thought she'd lost the car. She lifted off the throttle, was going to get back on the gas. It dug in and rolled over. I think there's plenty of opportunity, Jenny, for a bit of carnage here.
Oh, yes, that's Extreme E. Does what it says on the tin. The Traction Challenge is back with Continental, and that should be a good challenge for everybody and could be crucial when it comes to the championship fight. Everybody needs to stop RXR getting those bonus 5 points. Yeah, they do indeed. Sinkhole at the end of that. That's kind of like a little dip crest into a right-left, and we've already seen someone with a little issue just after that. You're going to see that in a moment. Lakeside and the elbow, you're going to become a lot more familiar with these various different track features as we get into this session. 3 kilometre long track this time, so it means everybody goes out twice, and both of the laps seem to be coming in at roughly the same time, so no major offset. So we're all set up. Are you ready? Because we certainly are. Let's see what this track here at the Uruguay Natural Energy X Prix will deliver.
So on to Q1. First car out on track was the number 99 GMC Hummer EV. Sarah Price at the wheel for the first couple of laps. She's got a new teammate this weekend in RJ Anderson, who's covering for Kyle LeDuc. Kyle LeDuc couldn't make it this weekend, so RJ stepping into the seat just for this one.
Yeah, really interesting to see how this course develops over the weekend, really, because it's very different to the ones we've seen so far. This, as you can see, grass and mud, and it's going to give us a very different way of these cars handling it and the drivers, how they choose to get this Odyssey 21 round.
Yeah, how much risk they want to take as well, Jenny. We talk about it every event in terms of risk management. This one's a little bit different because I really think the track development here could be more significant than anywhere else we've been. You know, NASA was saying, oh, we started with green grass. Well, that's soon going to go to dirt, and then after that you end up with ruts potentially, depending on what the weather does. It's been beautiful sunshine and pouring rain since the teams have been out there at least. On board here with RJ Anderson, who was looking impressive in this first session. We did see one point, didn't we, where he was pulling on the handbrake with grimacing his teeth big time, so he certainly wasn't holding back. It was them setting the benchmark.
Yeah, plenty of experience as well. He comes in as a two-time Baja 1000 winner. He's 29 years old and from California, and look at him. I think he's taken some tips, hasn't he, from certain Mr. LeDuc in the way that he's driving this. Just looks great out there, having fun.
Yeah, he certainly is, yeah. His first time in the electric motorsport over the finish line. Benchmark set by them was 10:15.242. Next up, Clara Anderson, Nasser Al-Attiyah's teammate, and Jenny, this time she's getting the full race weekend, because the last time she stepped in for Kleinschmidt, but she missed, of course, the sessions that Kleinschmidt had already done.
Yeah, so she's got a full run-up, really, and you heard from her speaking earlier on today that this isn't a familiar territory for her. She's going to have to do some learning, but I think we were speaking about this before we came on air, Andrew, that the teamwork, the union between your two drivers and the rest of the team is going to be absolutely crucial in the success this weekend.
I think it's been key all year, hasn't it? We've seen the work that Christopherson's done with both his teammates, and certainly for me, Hansen Munnings is proving to be a really strong partnership this year. Katie Munnings has come on well, and they've been signed up for next year, Jenny, already. We spoke a little bit yesterday in the Shakedown show about how some of the teams don't have their lineups fully sorted yet, and if you're a driver, this is the time to advertise your skills for next year. You know, there's plenty of seats that aren't filled just yet. I was trying to hear what Clara said there to Nasser as he jumped in. Look at the track changing already. It's gone from green to brown grass. You can see dirt in the corners. Look at the distance. It's a little bit wetter at the bottom of the hill, so down there damp mud as well.
Worth noting that at that switch zone, they actually had a slight issue and got a 5-second penalty added onto their time for that switch bay infringement. Lots of penalties already so far this weekend when we've had the practice sessions. Yeah,
I think they were a bit sly, Jenny. They were parked outside their box, and we saw, didn't we, Al-Attiyah went 2 seconds quicker than anyone else had gone in the sector leaving the switch zone. We clocked him like, well, that's a bit strange, and then immediately up came the 5-second penalty. So I think they knew what they were doing.
Next up, it's JBXE. Hedda Hossas in the car, first of all, handing over to another man who's stepping in this weekend, a newbie, although he was championship driver, Fraser McConnell, and a man you know pretty well.
Yeah, Franz has been championship driver a couple of times in the Odyssey 21. He'd had some seat time. He had a good result recently in his other series, and Jenson Button gave him the call up and said, do you want to jump in the car this weekend?
That's a cool call, isn't it?
It's a very cool call,
Who's this on my phone? I don't know. Oh.
This, though, unfortunately, is Hedda Hossas coming towards the end of the Continental Traction Challenge, jumps out of the dip here, coming through the right. This might be the first lap, maybe it's the second lap she has the incident on. And there it is, up on two wheels. We saw several cars bicycle. Actually, no, that's the first time me and Jenny have seen the replay of that. It's not as bad as it looks, is it? You can see there's a lot of bits hanging off the car. Hedda was sent to the medical centre for a checkup, which is pretty standard procedure. On board now, coming out. Does she get too close on the left? Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
well, I've seen a few cars coming up that section, and they're really lean to the right, and you can just see she's unfortunate. And actually, it looked like it was going to go all the way round. Just didn't flip over enough to land back on its wheels, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so recovery in place.
Yeah, I think she'd have got away with that, wouldn't she? Would have been a drive-on job. No run for Fraser McConnell in this first qualifying session.
So well, we're waiting for the cars to come out. Next up will be Rosberg X Racing. But let's introduce you to one of the drivers that I think you should know a little bit more about, because he's a fascinating chap. He'll be driving for Veloce both this week and for next year. It's Kevin Hansen.
My name is Kevin Hansen. I'm 24 years old from Sweden, and I drive Extreme E for Veloce Racing. We are the rallycross family. My father is a 14-time European champion, the most successful rallycross driver in the world. So my role model and my idol growing up, for sure. My mom, she's the only female rallycross champion on a European level ever, but unfortunately I never got to see her race. My childhood was very motorsport focused. When I was a kid, I was always traveling with my parents around Europe on rallycross races and living with the team in our team bus from I was just 2 months old until I was 12, 13 years old. Since I was very young, I started go-karts. As soon as I could, I said to my parents one day, can I do rallycross instead? My goal was always to be a European rallycross champion in the top category. In 2014, I became a Red Bull athlete, I became a Porsche driver, and from that point, I could just take the next step and the next step. And in 2016, given the opportunity to go in a great car in the European Supercar Championship, I won the first 4 races, and with that secured my biggest dream of my life, to become a European champion, being the youngest to do so ever. I was 18 years old. That was just a huge year for me. Timmy is my brother. He's 6 years older and he drives for Andretti United. He helped me so much when I was young. He has been the key part of my junior driver success, I think. Without that help, I couldn't be at the same level, you know, like we see each other as equally good. Maybe I'm a bit better. These last few years that we're both hunting for the same title, and it's gonna be a bit more cold mood sometimes and a bit hard, but in the end of the day we need to race fair, and also we always think of our parents. We want to make them proud on this world stage in front of so many fans and great teams and names, to make them proud and carry our name forward in doing good for both of us. That is always the key. For me, Extreme E is life-changing. It's the first opportunity that I've gotten to really use my platform to speak about climate change and equality. It's just more than racing. It's have a purpose. It's about saving our planet and raising a voice to bring more people aware of what's going on. And that is what I love about this championship. To have 5 podiums is for me a fantastic achievement in such a competitive field. But I don't have the first place trophy yet, and that is something I'm hunting still.
So that's the first 3 cars out. You've also met Kevin Hansen, and really interesting the dynamics that we're having now with driver contracts being updated, people getting in place for next season. As you said, there will be some spotlights shone on people. Oh, hello. Oh, isn't he or she gorgeous?
Yeah, very nice. I like that.
Hashtag Extreme E, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us. We always love to hear from you. Get your messages in. Someone can tell us what that bird was, because I don't know.
I've no idea, I have to say, Jenny. There is Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski. Now, we've noticed something interesting, Jenny. All of the female drivers are in 20 seconds from the command centre. All the female drivers are in for the first session. We have seen a mixture of tactics during the course of the previous weekend. If you're new to Extreme E, what you need to know is that the drivers take turns to start the session. So the fact that all the girls are starting this session means that all the boys will be starting the next one, and that kind of signifies who's going to take the starts, doesn't it, in the race segments of the weekend. There's
So,
Sarah Price.
Everybody watching on with interest to see what our championship leaders can do. They are off. It's RXR and Arlen Kotlinski taking to the wheel first. 2 laps for Arlen Kotlinski into the switch bay down to 30. Then they'll switch over, and Kristoffersen, newly crowned champion for World Rallycross, will take over at the wheel.
Yeah, he will. Another title to him. Legend of the sport very much, and a legend of Extreme E, of course, the reigning champion with his new teammate. Arlen Kotlinski's never won a championship, so this would be huge, and this is a big championship as well. For me at the minute, as a female driver, I think this series has done great things for promoting that side of the sport, and this is really the biggest title you can win in off-road at the minute, I think, in a partnership like this. So should be really keen. They've got to focus, Jenny. Driven last year, and they only, they had to do a job, didn't they, last year? It was Molly Taylor and Johan Kristoffersen, and Molly kind of backed off, didn't she, in Dorset, and it went to the wire. They went in with a big advantage. The advantage isn't as big this time as they thought it was going to be because of that technical problem they had at the last round, so it's very much not over yet. Yeah, 17 points is the difference between them and the next team along, which is the X44 team. So once again, Rosberg versus Hamilton, with Sainz in there as well, and Chip Ganassi Racing. Those are the 4 teams that will look to impress this weekend. And just talking about the Continental Traction Challenge quickly, Andrew. Yeah. We're going to see things develop on this course as we go through the weekend. So people have got to try and get a decent time in early. And remember, it's a combined time with both drivers put together. Yeah, bang on, Jenny, because the way this course will cut up, it's very difficult for us to know. So the drivers were saying last night that the braking zones when the grass was fresh were extremely slippery. As you get through the grass into the dirt, then the grip comes up a bit, but there can come a point where the grip completely goes away. Now, we've seen that other events this year, but we've not seen an event on grass just yet. So it's hard to know how the track will develop, and because of that, I think all the teams will push early in case the pace goes away. A little bit of over-rotation there from Olen Kotelinski, but she's doing a good job trying to just get through to the start of the second lap. She comes through the line, through the first gate, and finish straight. This dip here has been pointed out by a couple of the drivers as being very tricky, not so much off the last corner, but off the start. They're coming over it a little bit more quickly off the start, and you might have seen we were on a very low down camera as Olen Kotelinski came off the start on her first lap, and the rear of the car kicked in really high. The other thing to watch out for here is the drivers are slowly edging out the track width, so they have to go through each of the waypoints, like this one coming up here, but watch out for them running the car wide onto the grass, which is at the side of the tracks, and just trying to carry a little bit more speed through. And there's the hyperdrive. So, seeing that deployed for the first time on this car, they each have to do it twice, once, so twice in total for each. Driver has to do it once. I think I made a total mess of that. I think I did well. Oh, super close for Olen Kotelinski, and that's what we're talking about when we say this is going to go down to the wire. We've already seen Hedda Hosas over, and that will be a big nerve-wracking moment. Big, almost roll for Olen Kotelinski, up on 2 wheels. Now, getting back to what Jenny was so beautifully explaining was the hyperdrive. Basically, each driver gets a boost of power, which they can use once within their run, isn't it, Jenny? I think it's 4 seconds, and we always look for the place. Where do you think? At the minute, they're looking for where can they gain lap time, but look later on today for where might you use it to make a pass, because we saw that particularly last year in Greenland. We saw people using hyperdrive, didn't we, to make passes out of the gravel section at the back. Yeah, and people saying that, or suggesting that this could be quite tricky for overtaking here, just because of the configuration of the course. So let's see. We'll keep an eye on it, and I'll do better explaining it later. It was great, mate. Honestly, it's fine. Warming into it. What can I say? Oh. And she goes over this time. A second mistake. Olen Kotelinski rolls the car, and it's on its side. That's going to mean the run is over for the championship leaders. That is the worst possible start to their race weekend. Wow. Second car in a row to roll. JBXE rolled just literally 10 minutes ago before you guys joined us live. That's a disaster. Yeah, the whole team watching on as well, and it just goes to show how it looks innocuous, this track. It looks like you shouldn't be able to do that. You can see there, Kristoffersen clearly disappointed going back to control. He'll want to see what happened because he was already out watching and getting ready to do the switch. So you can just see Olen Kotelinski trying to get out. These are championship leaders leading by 17 points, and I tell you what, we hope Olen Kotelinski's all right, but this could be just the break that X44, Acciona Sainz and Chip Ganassi Racing need, and you can see
on the small book, and then plop.
Plop.
Johan Kristoffersen explaining what happened to Carlos Sainz there.
He's saying weight transfer. Are we going to hear from Michaela?
Michaela just turned off.
It's a recovery out on track. This is a carbon copy of getting Hedda Hosas out of the car just literally moments ago. She was a slightly less of an angle, Jenny, I'd say. This is more on its roof, isn't it, than it was. But it's difficult for the driver then to get out. You don't want to get out because you can be the thing that tips the car over. So the drivers will wait in the car until the rescue crews are there. They'll secure the car.
Right, let's go down and hear a little bit more on site.
Well, I've just caught up with Johan Kristoffersson, who's exited the command centre after a roll for Michaela. First things first, how is she? Is she okay?
Yeah, she was on the radio straight away and said that it was all fine, so yeah, it's good.
That's good. That's good she's okay, but obviously not how you wanted a championship deciding weekend to start. She's obviously finding the limits out there and went over the line.
Yeah, you know, it is tricky. We saw yesterday that that it is quite tricky, and we tried to do some changes on the car to prevent it. And yeah, it was looking good until then. So pace is there, but I think it's going to be very tight on the pace between all the teams. But I mean, it's only Q1 and it's still a long way to go. So we'll just try to. Hopefully the car is okay, so we can continue the weekend.
That's what I was about to ask. Obviously, the car is going to be brought back, and we can't yet ascertain the extent of the damage. But will that car be ready for Q2, based on what you saw from the camera shots?
Yeah, I think it's no problem to get it ready. Just that there's no damage to the roller cage, because that will be the end of the weekend. But if it's no problem with the roller cage, I'm sure it will be fine for Q2.
All right, thank you very much, Johan. Best of luck.
Well.
He is right, Jenny, with the start of the weekend comment. You know, the thing is, you can go through from the crazy race, and you wouldn't put it past these guys. They're going to pull the car back on its wheels.
That's not what you want to see as an engineer or mechanic. You're like, please don't just pull my car across and let it bang down. But they are built very robustly, these cars this year. I think the Odyssey 21s have been brilliant to watch. And despite the ease of being able to roll them, hopefully all will be OK with that roll cage.
Right, so this was the one that Michaela got away with earlier on. Up onto, no, this is the roll actually. So we were going to see the other one. So there's the roll. Yeah, I don't think the cage will be damaged there, Jenny. Here it is. There's a little bump on the inside, and it actually goes the other way, look, and then over. That first impact is heavy-ish on board.
Yes, the way it bunny hopped from the rear end, isn't it? It wasn't very comfortable to watch. You can just see the impact for Arlen Kotlinski. That one was uncomfortable. Just have a look at it again. So there we go. The back flicks up. It digs in. She's trying to correct it, and then over it goes. One flip. Square on its top.
I think it'll be okay. All we're really interested, obviously the first thing we're interested in is that Michaela's okay, but from a championship point of view, all we're interested in is that roll cage structure inside the car.
Close the door though, that's good.
Yeah, it did. Look, you see there, Jenny, look at it. I mean, you know, it's similar to the JBXE machine. It's not terrible. That's just a proper rescue truck. Look at that.
It's cool, isn't it? Just a note, it's worth saying that if you do have an impact like that, you do get taken to the medical centre. They'll give you an evaluation, make sure you're all okay, and that's just standard protocol for Extreme E and pretty much all motorsport now.
It's like the old McLaren F1 though. It's got the driver's seat in the middle, passenger on the side. This is earlier, look, so bicycles. Oh my goodness me. You know what? Wow. I'm surprised. I'm more surprised that one came back than I am that the other one went over, Jenny. I really am. She did an incredible job to pull that back from the absolute limit, and I would have thought she wound it in, but she's just got caught out by the bump. Here it is. Look at this. Mid-corner, just in a rut, and look at how it's a 90 left. It's a pretty innocuous corner. There's no compression or dip in there. Oof.
Wow, so right, let's go back down. Laura Winter is there as our pit lane reporter. She's caught up with JBXE Hedda Hossas.
Well, another driver to have a roll a little bit earlier on today was Hedda. Joins me now. Hedda, firstly, how are you doing? Are you feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm completely fine. It wasn't a big one, so yeah, I'm fine.
Just frustrating and not the way you want the weekend to start, is it?
No, of course not. I mean, it's the first time for Fraser to get out there as well, and I think it's sad that he didn't get the chance because of me, but yeah, it happens. We have to learn from that. So,
yeah, what have you learned from that? And talk us through exactly what happened from the driver's seat.
I think just was like a small bump I hit, and then it just started to come on two wheels, and then it was hard to save it when we're going uphill. So, yeah, it was hard to save that one, but yeah.
Is that something that you can correct moving forward, or is it a case of this course biting?
I think for sure it is, but we're going to look on the onboard and see what happened, really, because that's just how I felt, and we're going to see and work on that for Q2.
Some work going on behind to the car. How's it looking, and will it be ready for Q2?
Yeah, it's looking really good. It's just plastic parts, you know, so, or bodywork. So, yeah, the team is working really hard, so it should be fine for Q2.
Great stuff. Don't beat yourself up. I'm glad you're all right. Well done. Good luck for Q2. And you can see the bodywork just behind as well.
just cosmetic, I suppose. So that's not too bad. They'll fix that car, but certainly good to hear that Hedda Hossas is feeling okay. Oh, they've got the music going. I didn't know if they were into Christmas music yet, but not. Disappointing from
after
the
something a little bit more hardcore, aren't they?
JBXE team have let me down here. But there we go.
For wrenching.
So tell me, when it comes to a car, you heard Hedda saying that she tried to save it.
Yeah.
How do you save a car when it's up on two wheels like this?
Well, let's look at Hedda's. So Hedda comes out of the first dip here. She comes through the right-hander. Now, if you watch, she comes through this next dip, this left-hander, and she actually comes up too close to the left-hand side. Watch for the bump. There it is. Bicycles now. You can see her steering is facing off to the left, and she actually needed it facing off to the right. So she needs to try and pull that car back down. So here she is. Look, she's got left lock on, clips the bump, turn right now and gun it, and you try and pull it down. But to be fair to her, that happened so quickly, I don't think she'd have got it back. And when we were looking at the moments earlier for Arlen Kotlinski, you saw her pull it back from the first one by turning the steering the opposite way to the roll and try and get on the throttle and pull the car back down. Here it is, look, two wheels up. She needs to turn right now, but it's too late. It's gone over already. That was pretty much instantaneous. Now, the Arlen Kotlinski one that she saved, as I said, I don't know if we can see that again or not, but when she saved it, she pointed the steering the other way and pulled the car hard back down.
Yeah.
But
yeah, really
didn't get away with it the second time.
Yeah. So I think she, as you said, incredible to get away with it the first time. The car was well up on its two wheels, as you say, and you think that gravity would have taken it one way or another. But there we go. Right, work going on, as you can see, suspension, dampeners, all of it. Having a look at it, checking to make sure all of the arms are fine and that there's no cracks there, no hairline fractures, but all looks pretty good for them at the moment to get this recovered in time for qualifying 2. So going inside race control, you can see Scott Elkin there, and they are just having a little chat. They need to get action back on track as soon as they possibly can, but needs to be done safely as well. Any cause for concern about the course?
No. I mean,
just unfortunate.
Look, I do think it's going to be a feature of this weekend. We've had 3 rolls already, Jenny. We've seen Emma Gilmore go over in practice. This is so this is Arlen Kotlinski. I want to see whether it's the first one that she gets away with or not, where we were talking about how you save it. So watch for this. Whereas it must be she comes back the other way. No.
She was sliding around all over the shop, wasn't she?
Well, this is the thing. Here it is. You've got to slide to carry the pace through the corners. But as we saw with all 3 rolls so far, if you slide and it digs in, it goes over. This is what we've always said. You can spin a car at 100 miles an hour, no problem. It's what you hit as you travel sideways dictates whether or not you go over. So here it comes, up on 2 sheets. Now you see her turn her steering hard to the right and throttle, and she pulls the car back down. Job done.
That's really impressive to watch. I could watch that all day.
Here it is. Watch it again. Up on 2 wheels. Look at the steering go hard right. Look at that. She's on 1 wheel, but she's also on the throttle. You've got to pull the car forward in the direction in which you're facing the steering. So an amazing save by Arlen Kotlinski. Unfortunately, she got caught out again on the same lap and went over. So I do feel for her.
Yeah, so this is the second part. See her coming around. Tries to save it. Just bunny hops it up.
So that one, she's in the throttle, Jenny. I think she could maybe have got out of the throttle, but it's as Johan said, you saw the hand signals when he was talking to Carlos Sainz, the car bounces. So as she comes out through here, watch for the rear end of the car. So it goes up as she comes through the bump here. So up. Now the weight's gone the other way. You see the weight's coming round, the car's spinning. So here, she stays on the throttle, probably because she knows she's going round. She wants to spin the car 360, but unfortunately, they come off the track into the softer grass, it digs in and it goes over. So I understand. Same as what Gilmore was trying to do yesterday. I knew it was gone. I was going to throttle it up and spin it round, but unfortunately it digs in and goes over. So I think maybe drivers will be thinking, if I've spun it, just let it come back down, reverse out and carry on.
And how problematic is this for their championship challenge? Because we saw last time out, they couldn't get to the start line. They had a fault with the car, so they were down on points.
If anyone can recover, they can, but it is very definitely on the back foot. And the other teams will smell blood now, and they'll be after them big time.
Well, you can see an unceremonious return to the paddock for Rosberg X Racing as our little feathered friends fly around the course and get out of the way at the appropriate time. So just to go over that points-wise, 83 points to RXR, 66 X44. Sainz have 60 points and Chip Ganassi Racing 55, spread out with 28 points between them. Should be good.
Right, we're going to head down to the Vodafone Command Centre, where we've got a legend who we can talk to. It is the man himself, Mr. Carlos Sainz. Carlos, we've seen 3 rolls so far this weekend already. Emma Gilmore's gone over Hedda Hozas and now Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski as well. How do you change your approach to this track, having seen the way that it's developing? What do you do about this?
Sorry, I only listened the last part of the question. Could you repeat again, please?
Yeah, no problem. So we've seen these 3 cars have rolled already this weekend. How do you change your approach to attacking this track, having seen 3 rolls already?
Well, obviously, we are still on the quali, no, and it is very important to have a clean quali. We have seen people is really pushing very hard, but at the end of the day, it's probably more important to have a clean run than maybe a couple of seconds faster run. So always to find the balance is not easy, but this is what we need to try to build up a good speed through the weekend. And most important is to have a clean quali now, first one, and then think on the second one with more cars around.
Hi, Carlos. I'm just wondering, just seeing RXR in trouble out there, does this give you hope that the championship is still on for you?
I think we need to take it step by step, The experience in this championship shows that it can change from 1 minute to the next, depending on many factors. And to keep it clean, I think it's so important, In Cerdeña, we were up there leading the final, and everybody know what's happened. Last race, I was up in position 2. I got hit again in the final and go to last. At the end, we finished second or third. I don't remember. It's a really a lot of up and downs, a lot of things going on in each heat.
You mentioned, Carlos, in the next session, of course, we've got multiple cars on track together. We go racing. Have you spotted anywhere that you think is going to be particularly tricky, or maybe somewhere that you think we might see some passing?
The start will be tricky. There is a nasty bump straight away after, and it will dictate a lot. After, I think it's not going to be easy to overtake. Hopefully, there is not going to be much dust. But the track is quite open, and it is possible different lines, but I don't think it will be very easy to overtake.
Quite a few driver changes this weekend. Of course, you staying stable with Laia, who's already in the car. We're seeing pictures of her. How much confidence does that build when you know that other teams have had quite significant changes?
Yes, driver change is an important issue, especially for Laia and myself. We are big, we are probably heavier and bigger than other people in the championship. It is not easy for us to come in and out, and it has been a part that we have been working hard to get it right, to be on the limit, on the time limit. So everything needs to go well. I think it's better to stay calm. As I said, maybe don't try to make the super quickly change, but make every step correct, and probably like that is safer than trying to rush a little bit too much.
Last question, Carlos. Can you give us any clues on the grid? You mentioned that bump off the start line. Have you spotted a grid position that you'd really like to be in, or are they all looking pretty equal?
Well, let's keep it for when we need to choose it. I think most important thing at the moment is get worried about the next quali, then the second quali, and then we can start to think about positions and all that. Obviously, the second quali will be with 5 cars, so it's already important, and you need to see also what for tomorrow, what is the best place to be.
All right, thanks so much for your time. We wish you and Laia the best of luck in your championship hunt this weekend. Go for it, all right?
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. So down in the Vodafone Business Command Centre, Carlos Sainz, El Matador, speaking to us and not wanting to give anything away.
I knew he wouldn't, but you have to ask, don't you?
Just in case.
I liked the smile as he heard the question. You just knew straight away, didn't you? You're not going to tell us, are you? But that's good. But that does tell me, Jenny, exactly what we were thinking. You know, a bunch of people have said to us about how that bump is tricky in the run up to the first corner. So, yeah. Carlos Sainz in FP2.
He looks on it again. Looks like he's really come here with the desire to go out there and set some blistering pace. We've seen such good form from this team. Acciona Sainz, 23 points behind RXR. It's not impossible. They've got to try and get the Continental Traction Challenge, I think. But looking at them in action, could happen.
Yeah, I mean, we know, don't we, already that RXR and JBXC haven't even scored in the Continental Traction Challenge because neither of them made it round. Actually, Arlen Kotlinski, did Arlen Kotlinski make it to... Yeah, she made it to Sector 4, according to the timing screen. So she could potentially have got in a Continental Traction Challenge run there. But no, but of course, Johan hasn't yet. I mean, he's got the next session to do it in. But I do wonder, Jenny, you heard Carlos say, look, you've just got to get a sensible first session in now. Are we going to see the approach of teams change? Yeah, no one's going to be driving around slowly, but are you now going to start taking less risk? I think I might be looking at that with 3 rolls in a day and a half. Not even a day and a half, a session and a half.
Yeah, the problem is, if you want to get those 5 points, which are going to be invaluable when it comes to trying to beat the opposition, and especially get a bit of a jump on Rosberg X Racing, you've kind of got to go for it, and you've got to go for it with both drivers, because it's the best time set by each driver added together that will give you that number.
Yeah, I'd risk it for the biscuit in the Continental Traction Challenge, the biscuit being 5 points, but the rest of the lap, I think you could wind your neck in by just sort of 5% maybe, and just take away some of that risk.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, that seems like a sensible thing to do. Getting ready for the next run. So deep in concentration, you can see Laia Sanz in the car already. Carlos Sainz down there. Let's go down to Laura Winter, who will be patrolling the pit lane for us all weekend. Who's she caught up with now? Someone fascinating.
3 rolls so far, Seb. How or will you change your approach to these runs, seeing that it's very much a risk versus reward business at the moment?
Yes, I know. I think we will not change a lot our approach, because what we need is to win. So the thing is that it seems that the grip is quite high, and for our car it's a bit tricky. So it seems that it's easy to hold the car, so we will integrate that and try to keep it in the mind, but try to give our best.
And just over the cameraman's shoulder here, we've got the RXR car being brought back. Obviously, Michaela having just rolled that one. 17 points you are behind. Nobody likes to see another driver roll a car, but it must mean that your hopes are alive for the championship fight.
The hopes are alive, but the goal still is the same. We need to win. It doesn't really matter what they do. We need to fight for the win and try to get it. So it doesn't really change our approach. We will go for it, continue to push. Yesterday the feeling was quite good. Today the track seems to be a bit tricky. So that's how it is. So no change for us. We'll try to push.
All right, great stuff. Thank you very much. Best of luck for quali.
So Sebastian Loeb there for the X44 Vida Carbon Racing team, and Lewis Hamilton now signed off from Formula One for the season. He couldn't get a win in Formula One, but he'll be hoping that his team can go out there and get a win for him this weekend, and maybe, just maybe, get that championship away from Rosberg X Racing. We are seeing some extraordinary birds.
We are. You mentioned the one earlier with the beautiful red crest on its head. I had a message in from Tracy Smith who says the bird is a red cardinal and brings luck. Cardinals appear when angels are near. Unfortunately, didn't work out, did it, for Hosas or for Michaela Arlen Kotlinski. So the Cardinals obviously weren't near where they were. Must be on the other side of the track.
Yeah. Let's see who luck favours this weekend. Who's going to manage to get the skill that it needs to go around this, what is unforgiving 3-kilometre track in Uruguay, and actually manage to keep it 4 wheels planted, not spin, not roll, not make a mistake, because that's going to be crucial. Absolutely crucial. Good bird knowledge, by the way.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Amazing. Look at that, beautiful backdrop. Nice to see some greenery. Such a different backdrop from all our previous events.
Fascinating that they have so much renewable energy here as well. 98% of all the electricity is made from renewable sources. That's an ambition for, I think, every country. Well, Punta del Este, a beautiful setting for the Uruguay Natural Energy X Prix. Not far away, I think 5 miles off coast. There's 200,000 sea lions that loiter in their home. And Acciona Science haven't got going yet. Still in their garage. They look very relaxed, but surely there must be a time limit on when they can leave. I don't see any stress, though. I don't feel it.
Okay, well, I mean, Laya looks pretty chilled in the car. If we can see what's going on in the rest of the tent, it might be that they've got an issue with the car. They're maybe going to send another car next instead. So they're giving them a little bit of a reprieve. Nobody looks that stressed. There they are. Look what's going on in the background. Well, laptops and wires. Welcome to electric motorsport. It's different, isn't it? Okay, they're going to run later in the session, so they've been given a reprieve, but they've obviously asked the stewards for a little bit of time to work on the car, we believe. We're getting sort of messages from down there on the ground, so forgive us if we're wrong.
Never wrong.
Well, you just do, oh, wow. Now, come on, what's that?
I mean, it looks like a kind of turkey.
I was going to say the same, but I suspect it's some sort of... Look, it's a bit more vulture-y, isn't it, than a turkey? I don't fancy... yeah, many of those will eat on Thanksgiving. There we go. This one's having a rummage about. Look, seeing if he can find anything in the recently upturned earth.
By the way, if you do want to go vegan, it's very good for the planet, and it can be one of your counter-sin steps.
There you go,
and
Jenny.
Don't eat the bird.
Look at you,
That's
Jenny
all I'm
Cow.
saying, Andrew Cody. Do not eat the bird.
That's fine.
Eat a bird substitute.
I had a pizza last night. Is that a bird substitute?
No, you definitely had meat on your pizza, I can guarantee.
It is beautiful. Look at this. It's amazing.
Lovely part of the world, really is. And of course, the second time we've been to South America. 1,500 kilometers it is from Chile across the coast all the way to Uruguay. And a pretty cool place, as you can see. And actually, fans, for the first time, were able to welcome the Extreme E party to the Punta del Este. They had a lovely kind of Le Mans-esque show where they got all the fans to come down, see the cars, enjoy the atmosphere, have a little party on the beach.
There's some on site as well. For the first time ever, there are some fans actually on site. Of course, the Dakar Rally's been down here before, so there's a big following for motorsport in South America, as you see Cristina Gutierrez roll out in the X44 machine. So yeah, it's good to see some fans there. They've all been asked to consider how they go to the venue. So they've been asked, you know, can they cycle there? Could they go in an electric vehicle? They're going to be eating things that are served in recyclable containers. They've been asked to help pick up the litter at the end of the event. I think it's quite cool, actually. I hope that the fans buy into the concept. That would be cool, because I'd like to see some fans at more events. I get it. I understand the concept of not wanting to increase the travel. We understand that, but there are ways of doing it. People still want to go and watch sport, and so, you know, let's maybe we can make this work in other sports too.
Yeah, this one is much closer to the city centre as well, and very near to the centre of Punta del Este, and they've asked if fans can only come from Uruguay and Argentina. And bearing in mind we have an Argentinian in this weekend to drive for the Excite Energy Racing team in Escal Companc, I think he might have some fans there for him, cheering him on.
Indeed. Quite the character. Saw some pictures of him last night wearing a panda head in a GT paddock.
Don't you normally wear a panda head?
Angry panda, what was it?
I think it was
okay, everybody, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Scott Elkins. Right, we're going to get ourselves back underway. We've had 2 recoveries in a row. If you've just joined us, Hedda Hosas rolled for JBXC, and then unfortunately, championship leaders, championship favourites, Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski rolled the Rosberg X Racing machine before Kristoffersson managed to get out there. So Kristoffersson misses his run in Q1. Fraser McConnell misses his run in Q1. We had a roll yesterday for Neil McLaren Extreme E. That was Emma Gilmore, and that was another really innocuous little moment. Sebastian Loeb says they won't change their approach, that they have to go for it. I think, Jenny, they're going with the old thing, we can't control what anybody else does, only what we do. But still, I think you're going to look at it. So Arlen Kotlinski and Hosas's rolls have been after deep compressions when the rear end of the car has been fired out. It was 2 places where you lift by 5%, solve the problem. So I think you could just approach those 2 sections of the track. Gilmore's roll's probably the weirdest one of them all.
Acciona Science, you can see conversations going on.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Just trying to see what the issue is.
They've got the organisation in there. You saw the chap with organisation written on the back of the shirt, so that's one of the stewards they've called down there basically to go, oh, please, can we just have a little bit longer, sir? Yeah, they'll be ever so nice to him and make their case for needing to run later in the session and hope not to get a penalty for that.
So X44, while the repair works go on and the conversation happen for Acciona Science, will take the next spot. They will go out there and Gutierrez is at the wheel ready to go. We know there's less than a minute.
15 seconds.
15 seconds until we get this underway again in action.
Just spoke to Carlos, didn't we? He said, you know, in this series anything can change. We were asking him, what has it changed with RXR rolled, and now they're not out for their run either. Does that make X44 the favourites at this moment? I think it does, but they're about to start their run. Gutierrez releases the handbrake and launches the car off into the course. Let's hope it's not another rock and roller.
Oh, you've got to be trepidatious, haven't you, when you go into this? You can just see the elevation, the jumps coming up as well, kicking around this corner. I'm just nervous watching it, but you're watching along with us, and we'll see how this goes, bearing in mind they know that anything but a win this weekend won't be enough, really, for them to take the championship. And they've got to hope that RXR finish off the podium, not in the top three. Top three finish for RXR, and they will become champions.
So watching the way Gutierrez came into that first corner, you could see her back, and the second one, in fact, backing it in a lot. So they're rotating the car a lot on the brakes. Let's see if we see the same again as she turns into this next corner. So watch for the rear of the car moving on the way in. There it is again. So just get the car sideways before the corner. Here again, look. Not seeing it so much in the slow stuff up on two wheels, Jenny. So it's really marginal at the minute, this course. Now, this is at the first of those big crest dips. We saw the one off the start finish. That's with a straight. Out of the end of it, keep the car straight. Nicely done. This next one's where Arlen Kotlinski rolled. So watch for this. Come through the dip. Round to the left. No, sorry, this is where Hosas rolled.
I just wonder how much there is that you can do with the setup of the car to just dampen it down a little bit and make it not so lively.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, you could make it safe for those two spots on the track, but then you're making it safe for, say, 2% of the track. Does that compromise you for 98% of your lap time? So I think you'll look at what makes you the best lap time around the rest of the course and adjust your driving style for the points where you perceive there to be more risk. But we've already seen her on two wheels in a pretty standard corner, so you just got to be on top of it.
Yeah, Gutierrez out there and giving us some welly. She's fastest at the moment, as you can see. That number down at the bottom showing that she is the number to beat right now. Although we've had limited running, only two cars managing to set a finalised time so far. Lots of concentration required as they get to grips. Still learning this crack course as well. 3 kilometres round. They do 2 laps of it. So that's the first lap completed safely for Gutierrez. Round she goes to the start straight again with this bump and the riverbed that awaits her. She comes up from that and then courses round to the right. Another long stretch before the left-hander where there are 5 cars racing later on today. This is going to be fairly feisty.
So I've been looking at the splits. We've got a big timing screen here which shows us what the ideal sector times are. At the minute, Nasser Al-Attiyah has sector 1 and sector 4. Now, actually, his sector 1 time was set after a switch zone infringement. And we thought potentially there was an advantage there, but looking at it, Jenny, maybe not. So he went some 2 seconds quicker than RJ Anderson had gone in the Hummer in his App Cupra XE on that first sector. So he holds sector 1 and 4, but actually it is RJ Anderson who holds sector 2 and 3. I was actually trying to figure out who ANR was, but of course that's our driver abbreviation on the screen. That's because we've got another Anderson so it was complicated. 2 Andersons this weekend.
Yeah, I'm just going to go RJ for the whole thing. If our timing screens could show that and reflect it, that would be really helpful as well. So let's have a look at this. Gutierrez coming around, going wide to the right, out of the Continental Traction Challenge zone. And she's doing really well out there, showing some really good pace, taking some interesting lines, just widening out the course, as you heard Andrew saying earlier on, just trying to flatten out and the corners. And oh no, another roll.
Third one.
That's
huge.
A big one.
That's a much harder roll.
That's front end roll as well. That is going to be a little painful, I'm afraid, for Gutierrez. She's trying to restart it, though. Look, the water's just splurging out of it there. Fluid to the left-hand side of your shot, you can see coming out. She is made of stern stuff, isn't she? Just wanting to get going again.
Don't forget, she finished a stage of an endurance rally last year with effectively a broken back. She's made out of rock, this girl. She's a weapon. But she's broken the front right corner of the car. The second impact there was big. That's the third roll in a row. This is the most dramatic session we've ever seen in Extreme E.
Wow, watching on very uncomfortably. And you can see just into the Vodafone Business Command Centre. I think that was Sebastian Loeb going in. Of course, he was due to take over from Gutierrez. That was a big impact there. You can see he's just got into the centre. He's just probably going to have a look back at what's happened. Exactly, get a bit more information. I just wonder if they're going to have a chat. Can't really hear what they're saying, but that's not good news. They were so hopeful, weren't they, of getting some serious points this weekend, but that was a big impact for Gutierrez. They're just lifting the door open. Hopefully she's fine. She wanted to get back out.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, you need to make sure you're okay. Do you have any pins and needles anywhere in your body? Okay, do you remember the crash?
Yeah.
Okay, are you happy to get yourself out?
Yes.
Okay, guys are going to give you a hand, okay? Okay, she's got pain in her neck, okay? She just...
Can you do your belt?
I can
get out? Okay, I'll let you get out more than me. Yeah.
Great work from the safety crew as we take another look. Bicycles up on two wheels. She turns the wrong way, but that's not fair to say that at that speed. Look at that, though. The impacts, Jenny, are big on both front corners. There is a lot more, and the rear left is broken too. There is a lot more work. Here she comes in again.
Yeah, it's a cartwheel, isn't it? Really, she gets the motion going, and it's front to back, and this is a big impact for the car and for Gutierrez.
She bounces, so she's turning the steering because the car's running offline, so she turns to the right because she wants to pull the car back online. You know, she's still in driver mode at that point. She's thinking it's going to come down from two wheels, so she's trying to adjust the line mid-corner. Look at the dirt fall out of the roof scoop there as the car goes up on its nose.
I mean, 10 out of 10 if you're into gymnastics. It was beautiful, but not exactly what you want out of your car, and we just hope that they can get it fixed in time. They're going to have to do a lot of work to that car to get it ready to go, and this was the reaction of the team once they'd seen the impact. You could just see how much it's hurt them, how painful that would have been to watch as well, and how much damage they're going to have to get sorted.
I wonder if they could see that, Jenny, from the switch zone, because she was in what sector? Yeah, she was in sector 4. No.
3.
Sector 3, maybe. It's hard to tell, isn't it? If not, they were looking at the big screens, which would be opposite that area.
Yeah, she'll go back to the medical centre. You heard her saying that she felt maybe that she had a little neck pain. The extraction team doing a really good job there, assessing everybody on the spot just to make sure that they're okay, that there's no concussion to deal with, taking these things very seriously. And just for the record, actually, we haven't spoken about the championship drivers this weekend. Christine GZ is one of the championship drivers, and Timo Scheider the other one. So those two on standby if needed for any of the teams. You can see the work going on down at RXR. Championship leaders, 83 points to their name, and they've just seen their nearest rivals crash out as well. It's a course that is not taking any, it's really vicious. It looks so flat, it looks so easy, it looks deceptive, doesn't it? But the recovery vehicle coming back now and depositing Gutierrez at the medical centre just to make sure she's okay. Let's go back down to Laura Winter. She's with Sebastian Loeb. See what's going on.
Well, just before that run, you said you weren't going to change your plan. Christina went out there, she attacked the course. Unfortunately, she has also rolled. First and foremost, how's she doing? Is she all right?
Yeah, the information we have, she's all right. So that's the most important thing. For the rest, yes, it's over again. But that's how it is. The car doesn't work on this track. We see the three last cars on the track rolled. So it's not the last one that will roll. It seems that the grip is too high compared to our center of gravity. And if you want to push in a corner, you roll. So, because it was really a flat corner, easy 1-0, and she rolled. So it seems that it doesn't work with the car.
There's a lot of work going on down this whole pit lane to get cars back out for Q2. This looked like a big one, though. Can you sort of ascertain the extent of that damage so far?
No idea. I saw it from far. I have no idea. I saw the car like jumping around, so could be some damages. We will see that. Hopefully out. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully out in Q2 though.
yeah, we will see. I don't know how it will go on, but for sure we will try to be in Q2.
Thank you very much, Seb. Sorry to see. And pass our best wishes to Christina as well. Thank you.
So Laura Winter with the interview there. Sebastian Loeb clearly disappointed. And that X44 team just waiting to get the car back so they can start work on it, really. But this is now a question. Oh, look, there she is, Arlen Kotlinski back in the garage.
This is the other team
Don't worry
who
about
were
it,
working.
she's being told. And that's what you need from your team. You need them to come together, no blame culture, and just say, OK, it happened. Don't worry, we'll get through this together as a team and we'll work through it. And that's really important, to welcome her back in with...
Yeah. Absolutely, open arms and just go, look,
Yeah.
mate, it happens. We've all been a car sometimes. Everybody makes mistakes, whether it's the mechanic who didn't bolt something on quite right to the driver who bins it. Now, if you make too many, obviously in the end that becomes a problem. But you can't have that loss of confidence in a crucial moment in the championship. And Arlen Kotlinski's been brilliant all year. You want to be fastest, you take some risks. The question now is over our. Loeb said we're not going to change our approach to it. Should you have done? Did you need to go a bit slower? I agree with you, Jenny, what we said earlier. Go for it in the Continental Traction Challenge. And nobody's tuning into this show to watch people drive cars slowly. But also, I hope that most people aren't tuning in to see the crashes. I'm tuning in to see people driving on the limit. Crashes are a byproduct of those things. So we're actually going to have a catch-up now with Michaela Arlen Kotlinski, who is going to be down in the paddock with Laura Winter.
Michaela's standing next to me, cutting an understandably frustrated, disappointed figure right now. Talk me through what happened, and also we're so glad to see that you're all right as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, in the end, that's the most important thing, and I'm just heard that Christina's also fine, so very happy about that. Also with Hedda, I mean, as we could see, a lot of grip on the track today, and from my side, I was close in a corner earlier on, and then it was pretty much a silly roll, to be honest. It came up and then too much weight on the outer wheel and then just rolled. So I hope car should be okay and ready for Q2. I mean, of course, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. Timing-wise, we were quite okay, so we'll take the good parts with us. We'll do some changes for Q2 and work from there.
3 rolls we've seen in this session. Emma Gilmore, of course, rolling yesterday in free practice as well. Is there a common reason for this?
I don't think I can comment on that now. We need to look at that and figure out, I mean, for all of us, the teams, the cars and organization, understand why.
Will you change the approach for Q2? Obviously, we've got side-by-side racing.
Yeah, I mean, you always change for side-by-side racing. It's different compared to time qualifying. Johan will then take the start, since I started in qualifying 1. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to be important for us to have a good position, but that's always the goal. So we will have the same approach there.
Thank you very much. Best of luck for Q2. Thanks, Michaela.
Well, lovely to see Michaela Arlen Kotlinski doing fine. Obviously frustrated, a little bit gutted as well, but the RXR car back in the garage and being fixed at the moment. This is Tamala Mononaro, Excite Energy Racing. She's going to get in the car ready to go. Just to tell you, car 55, that's the Acciona Science car, is under investigation for a missed assigned qualifying order. So they will be looked at for that, and whatever penalty they may or may not get, we will keep you up to speed with. But Andrew, I'm just having a look at and think about this.
Yes.
We've got 3 teams now who have rolled, and they're out of the running for this part of qualifying. Only 2 teams have got a time on the board. So you now have to, and Acciona Sites haven't got out yet. So those 4 teams plus maybe Acciona Sites have to think about what they're going to do going into this. And maybe, even though you don't want to drive slower, you've just got to get a time on the board, haven't you, and make sure that you don't roll your car.
Look, I think the fact that GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing and App Cooper XE are within 0.2 of a second of each other after 4 laps shows that it's perfectly possible to get out there, give it a big old push and see what goes on, and they actually got a 5-second penalty, so they would have done a 10-10. Now, Arlen Kotlinski, interestingly, said the grip is up today, and that's what we were talking about track development. So the grass has gone away, which all the drivers said was slippery. Now the cars are digging in a bit more to the dirt. That is digging in a bit too much. I would suggest, by the way, that the fact that the team are repairing that car means the roll cage is okay, which is great news for RXR and for us in terms of that championship fight. It remains to be seen, obviously, with the X44 machine and the JBXE car, what condition they're in. I think the JBXE roll was light as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah. no, it's not a biggie. It's not, I mean, you know, it's easy for us to say, isn't it? Believe me, rolling a car at any point is relatively a biggie. But
yeah,
it's,
I'm not sure I want to just volunteer to do it.
No, but it's not. Here we are on board. There's the kick. Look, boom, up it comes. You've got to avoid that. Don't go so close to that left-hand side where that little bump is that just launches the cars.
Yeah, I think all the teams will be watching and really trying to assess what's happened. They'll look at the replays and they'll try, as you say, to not make or not take the same route so that they don't end up in this. But this is Gutierrez as she comes along. It's a spectacular crash, I have to say. But look, it just digs into the right and then she goes over, cartwheels across twice, lands, tries to restart it. I mean, kudos to you to try, but it wasn't going to go. Broken suspension, you can see rear left, problematic.
Speed's much higher here, Jenny. Not in slow motion, but it's a much faster corner. You can see from the steering angle, she's only, you know, it's not a flat right, but it's not far off in a full throttle right-hand corner. So obviously when it does dig in, there's a lot more energy in the car. Yeah, I mean, the rear right corner is the only corner of that car that looks like it's intact, and that'll want a good check-up as well. So there's 3 corners off the X44 machine. On board, look at the speed. Look at how quickly we're going here. Look, it's just a slight right kink, look.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
And then boom, in, over, and now you're getting launched. Sky, ground, sky, ground. Look, that's the worst view as a driver. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these cars are robust though, aren't they, this year? They are, I mean...
Well, unless you do that to them.
Yeah.
Look, we say it a million times, you can replace a car, the driver's the most important thing, and I think what was key here is that the safety cell that Spark have built is great. So we've, you know, touch wood, all these drivers are having a check-up, but they've all come out of it relatively unscathed, considering the size of the crashes, and that's the most important thing. We can knock 4 corners off the car, that's fine. The mechanics will do their best to get it back out, so...
Right, let's go down to the paddock. Molly Taylor is back. We're delighted.
Well, Molly, we've seen 3 big rolls so far this morning. As a driver waiting to get in the car and get out there and do your qualifying run, how does that make you feel? How are the nerves right now?
I mean, it looks like it's been pretty wild out there, but, you know, we just have to drive to what we see when we get there. It's, you know, it's very hard to predict, you know, from looking at the TV what it's like, you know, when you arrive to the corner. So, yeah, our mission, our goal is the same. We know what we've got to do, and, yeah, obviously we've got to be aware of, we know that there's track evolution, and then we just see what it's like when we get there.
All right, thank you, Molly. I'll let you go. Good luck.
Well, really good to see Molly Taylor back. 30 seconds until our next car heads out on track. It's the Excite Energy Racing team. Tamara Morinaro taking to the track first, and I wonder how she's feeling on the start line.
I don't think anybody on the start line is feeling absolutely awesome right now. You've got to feel a little bit as well for her teammate Ezequiel Perez-Companc, who's waiting in the Vodafone Business Command Centre for his run. And yeah, he's new to the off-road scene. He's a decent GT driver, and he's got a family history in off-road motorsport, but he's about to be heading out for his first competitive action, having seen 3 cars in a row roll. We desperately hoping, of course, that he does actually get to go out. Here's the first of those big bump dips. Look at the way the cars get launched. Where you are across that is going to make a massive difference come the racing portion this afternoon, how you go through that dip. I think people might back out of their position, Jenny, to go somewhere safe. So if you've lost the start...
Have you been watching Extreme E for 2 seasons?
Yeah, there is that. I mean, maybe...
It's not a trait, is it, that they're good at?
Just go. Just send it and see.
I like that. Just send it and see. Tamara Morinaro, though, she's been really impressive since her debut. New teammate, she's now the team lead, really, in essence, and she's going to go out there and give it everything. But, you know, a hyperdrive enables good use of it there, and you can just see Ezequiel getting ready to go out, just strapping himself up in the Vodafone Business Command Centre. And I'm sure there's a touch of nerves, and it's interesting how each driver deals with those nerves.
It is indeed. He'll be used to the nerves from a race point of view. He'll also be used, of course, to driver changes from GT racing. So there are certain aspects here that he'll already be across. But, you know, driving in the loose surfaces like this, maybe not so much. Trying to see where they finished their previous sessions.
Yeah, they got some penalties, picked some up, and a lot of the teams have picked up penalties along the way. So in the first session, they actually ended up finishing third?
Yeah.
They didn't pick up a penalty, I apologise.
Exactly, but nearly everybody else did. So that maybe wasn't the greatest marker, was it?
They picked up a penalty in the second run, that's what I was thinking. They were plus 30 seconds in the second run.
and that put them 10th. So a third and a 10th, but one, yeah, as you say, Jenny, a penalty for them in one and penalties for everyone else in the other. It's hard to tell really where they were, isn't it?
It was almost all the back kicked up nastily then, but she managed to recover that. It was almost as if they were trying to bluff us by not giving us a clean time. The over-rotation as she goes through, front revving up. Is she managing to say she's managed to get that back down again, but you could see it wanted to go. She's fighting it out there.
Yeah, up on two wheels just a little bit. Look, that's not that unusual, but it's managing it, isn't it, and making sure it doesn't go too far. So coming down here into the left-hander, which marks, I suppose you want to call that turn 1. No, it's really turn 0, isn't it? Because this is turn 1 coming up. So through the bump dip off the start line, and this is your turn 1 on the lap. So brake light coming on, be left foot braking, right foot on the throttle just to balance the car in each of the corners.
This is tense times. Ezekiel will be watching this and thinking, OK, I'm looking, I'm understanding. I know what I've got to do and get out there, but my word, a baptism of fire. This is the first time you've really gone off-roading in your career. We like to drop people in at the deep end.
Yeah.
And it's great that we've got all this fresh talent coming through, and it can introduce you to new drivers across the course of the weekend, and some really exciting talent coming through to Extreme E as we close out the season in some style in South America, it has to be said. It's been a complicated session again, just up a little bit on that front left, but managing to control it, taking a wide line through 10, not getting too close to that flag, don't get bitten.
I think we're going to see people taking alternate lines, Jenny, definitely, even in the faster stuff. I did see somebody earlier on completely avoid the inside line, but watching it, I think they just went in a little bit too hot. There's a big difference, yeah, between running wide because you've gone in too hot and choosing to run wide and not be in those ruts. But at the minute, of course, they're chasing lap time because this is the qualifying portion of the event where the cars are going one at a time. 9.46 seconds down, but, you know, when 3 cars in front of you have rolled and 1 car behind you actually own a science is still a question mark over whether or not they're going to run. Why not wind it in? And now look, actually only 5 seconds off, so a couple of seconds back at this point.
Yeah, just trying to control this car. It's lively out there in the Odyssey 21. Round that corner. Oh, lovely bit of action there, drifting around it as they come through towards the final part of this, the switch awaiting. See if we can actually get a car back there. And there you can see Ezekiel just waiting to get in. Slow the car right down, 30 kilometers an hour. And let's see how clean they can keep this switch. We know it's an important factor.
So that gap was up at +9 just a few sectors ago, a few flags ago, and then came down to +5 at the point where everybody else had rolled. So the comparisons up to that point were, you know, to previous cars, and now suddenly only 5 seconds off. Yeah, you're looking at it and going, OK, maybe this is the right level of risk. Before it was 9 seconds off. Does that mean everybody else was pushing too hard? And actually Molinaro's judged it really well. We'll find out. They're currently sitting in P3.
Yeah, this is a huge challenge now because you've got to get in that car. The switch zone is always a little bit tricky to do, and Tamala Molinaro is going to just try and help out in there and do all she can just to attach that seat belt and make sure that he's comfortable in there. And then you've got to remember your processes, much like any driver getting into a new car. You've got a steering wheel, you've got to try and learn. They're just having a trouble getting him actually into that, but the door's closed. Mechanic helping out. They've got to get both people out of the zone before we can put the car into drive.
You see lots of angry-looking pandas in there. That's because Mad Panda Motorsport is Ezekiel's team in GT racing. Now heads out. Quick radio check there. That was not your ideal driver change, was it, Jenny? That's heading out in a panic.
A little bit clunky.
Down. Yeah.
But I tell you what, they're doing the right thing. They're just talking, do a radio check, just calm yourself down, make sure the processes are in place, and then when you can accelerate through the switch zone, you're ready to go. But this is a big test for Ezekiel. Let's see what he can do, because Tamara's done a great job out there.
Watching that gap at the bottom, 5.66 to see what it was. No, OK, they didn't lose any time. So if they'd lost any time, you'd see that in the split at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, a second, you can't tell whether that's on the brakes or the exit. So no drama there. Or less drama, certainly, than it looked from the outside.
mean, these drivers have been able to go out, they've done a shakedown, they've managed to walk the track as well, which gives them a real clue as to the bits that are going to be a proper challenge that they need to address carefully. And he's had the opportunity to watch everybody else out there and try and learn from those drivers that have gone round and maybe succeeded or gone round and failed.
Using all the track width, which we'd expect from someone with a racing pedigree. The track walk's an interesting one, Jenny, isn't it? Because the track changes so much. You'd actually like to do a walk before each session, and that's not going to happen because it's a long old course at 3 kilometres, and there are cars on it most of the day. So, yeah, your track walk works. And then, as you say, learning from other drivers, seeing 3 people rolls, got to knock your confidence. But at the minute, the splits are good.
A little bit of air there over the jump through gate 11 as they're still in this Continental Traction Challenge section, and you can see Catching just trying to close that gap between their team and others that have already managed to post a time out of the Continental Traction Challenge, and it's 43.430. Oh no, that's Hedda Hossas's time, my apologies. It's a 44.019, so a little bit slower than others, but you've got to get the car around, you've got to post a decent time and learn all the time about what these Odyssey 21s can do.
I'm interested to know, what's fired Ezekiel up to come and do this. I'm pleased as well. I think sometimes drivers watch other series and think it looks like fun. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with going and having some fun. You know, say GT driving with his own team. He's able to maybe pick what program he wants to do, and he's decided he wants to come and do the final round of this. Good for him. Jumps are fun, Jenny. You know, this is the thing. I've been a big advocate of jumps for a long time. There aren't enough in most motorsports. F1.
You cannot be jumping. You can't even run a curve.
I know.
Without half the floor falling off and your aero being slightly compromised.
You can see the attraction, can't you? You can see the attraction to come and do something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit looser. And I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, first run out there, you can see still trying to catch. 3rd place at the moment. But then again, we've not had a huge number of teams managing to set that time. So establishing a time out there for qualifying 1 before we go 5 cars wide for qualifying 2. Really, really now valuable. Almost more valuable than getting a really fast time out there. So the Anoa Hyperdrive deployed. Using that straight line speed on a nice flat section where you can really benefit from those additional 4 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's a similar part of the track we saw earlier on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be used, and they're going to come down. I'm surprised no one's using it in the Continental Traction Challenge, but it might just be that there's nowhere that you can really benefit for it. We didn't get to see Loeb, because Loeb normally does something a little bit different, then everyone copies it, but he's not got out in the car yet, so we haven't been able to do that.
Continental Tyres doing a great job on another new surface. Interesting, was it? Nasser Al-Attiyah has done the Dakar how many times? Said he's never driven on grass before, so good grip from them in these changing conditions. The Traction Challenge named after the sole supplier of tyres to Extreme E. Tyres made from recycled bottles, I think, are involved in it, aren't there? And there's husks of...
dandelion husks as well. Actually,
crazy technology, it really is.
A colleague of mine's out there and was surprised at how light they are to lift up.
Really?
She said either they're light or I've grown muscles where I didn't think I had them, which I loved. Coming round towards the final section then of this track into Sector 4. Compank, I think, doing a decent time.
What was it, about 5 seconds down, wasn't it, from Molinaro? So potentially 5 seconds a lap to find, but I don't think that's bad at all. Over the finish line, they're going to go P3.
Okay, start line, 1 minute.
And that's the first of the last 4 cars to finish, so they won't be disappointed with that. You know, that's going to see that, well, the absolute worst they're going to be is P7, isn't it, if all the 4 remaining cars beat them. Worth pointing out, Genesis Andretti United, who run 9th in this session, was super quick in both the practice sessions yesterday.
Just look at the gap, by the way, separating those top 2, just 0.21 seconds, 2/10 separating those 2 teams, the GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi team and Apt Cupra XE. And you can hear we're quickening things up. Scott Elkins on the radio there saying 30 seconds to the Veloce team in an all-new lineup this weekend.
Molly Taylor in the car. Current champion, let's not forget that. She is reigning champion as female driver. She was partner with Johan Kristoffersson, and at the end of the season, The team let her go in favour of Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, and now she's back. So she stood in once earlier this year at JBXC. She's now been signed on a definitely this year and next year contract with Veloce alongside Kevin Hansen. I think that's a great driver pairing choice from them. But she's got a lot to learn. I had a chat with her overnight, Jenny, and basically saying the car, of course, is so completely different from the last time she drove it. She's just got to get her head around it again. But we know how good she was from last year, so well within her talent.
Yeah, her capabilities unquestionable. She is absolutely brilliant out there, and it's just a case, I think, of trying to just reel back in your expectations of what you wanted to do to the capability of this car and the course, more importantly. And just look, she's catching at the moment, just trying to close that gap down between our leaders, who are the GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing team. And Veloce have had bad luck so far this season. They haven't scored the points they hoped. They were just 8 points for the season, and I think that's why they've taken some pretty drastic action in going out there and saying, OK, we're going to do a complete driver change. So the lineup is gone, and we're going to invest for next year now. This is them getting ready for next season.
Yeah, good decision. Obviously, change takes a while to bed in as well. It's not only driver changes, I think, as well at Veloce. So there's been a lot of changes going on at the team, and as you say, just trying to claw their way up the standings. Last year, of course, they had a shocker, didn't they? 2 huge crashes with Stefan Sarrazin. Great to have the team in the series, and yeah, you know, sometimes you've got to take drastic action, you've got to change things and try and get yourself where you want to be. What do you think of the driver pair? And I really think it's a strong one.
I think it's strong, and I think they'll both be able to work together and help each other out in trying to improve the car, the team, everything about it, because they're both quite logical. I love Hansen's passion. We saw him really emotional last time out. They're definitely both able to get podiums as well. Interesting
what you say about the team, of course, Jenny, and they actually bring experience from 2 different teams. Kevin's come from JBXC, Molly's come from RXR. So you can take the things that you've seen at those teams and maybe go, right, well, at RXR we did it this way, at JBXC we did it that way. That's not to say everything will be right, but any time you look at when a driver swaps teams in any category of motorsport, they always bring with them some knowledge from the processes in the other outfits, and that will help.
And I feel like Veloce should have got more points this year. They have been really unfortunate. Christine Gizim was doing great guns until the car went over. So I think the team have everything there. The setup is good. The people are good. It's just not come together. So let's see what they can do with a new driver pairing. I do feel for Woolridge and GZ as well.
Yes, so do I.
And hopefully, you know, they'll find another home for themselves next season. Still a lot of driver contracts to be signed off that we know of.
Well, look, GZ's in this weekend as the championship driver. And at some point, I'm sure if she holds on to that position, she'll get the call up again. The pressure will be on at that point because she'll need to prove that she's got over the crash. You know, we know she had that terrible crash where she broke her ankle and didn't really recover from it, which is what she needed to do. Woolridge, I mean, Woolridge was so fast last year in the UK on his debut that I was sure he was going to be a threat, but it just didn't work out this season. So, again, I'd love to see him come back. If you're a team, you've got to be looking at people who've got experience of these cars. You mentioned setup, Jenny. Obviously, the cars are all identical in terms of physically, what they're made of, the parts that are on the car. You're allowed to have different belts. I mean, that's about it, really. They're going to come into the switch zone any minute now for Molly Taylor.
Just using a bit of hyperdrive there, actually, which is a different place to use it, I believe. Haven't seen it there yet, but this is the bit where Christine Gutierrez did her flip. So you've got, I think, a little bit of caution going in there, but look at that. She's just finding some time now, up into 3rd position on the live timer tracking, dropping down to 4th, but that's how close it is out there.
So, but again, that's comparison, isn't it? Those sector times, I think, comparing again potentially to previous cars. So it's a little hard to tell at times. But either way, that gap coming right down now, so they could definitely threaten here. Kevin Hansen could definitely threaten our current leaders, GMC Hummer EV. And getting back to the setup thing, they can change things like the springing, the damping, the geometry on the cars. They can certainly change the way the car feels, and then there'll be a number of different electric maps which you can change, which is just like changing the map on an engine. Yeah, how does the car feel to drive? So all of those things are open, and they will bring with them their own thoughts. But again, that has to be a compromise between the 2 drivers. They might necessarily not like the same things, and you have to find something that works for both people around the majority of the track.
And I'll be keen to actually watch how they compromise and work together. As we said, that teamwork's so important to get the go. So Taylor comes out and Hansen will go in. Now let's see what happens, because these switches can be a little tricky, but they've both done them in the past plenty of times. Just this time they're in a different car. And I tell you what, one thing I have noticed is Molly's comms wire. You can see Kevin's as well there as he plugs it in. It dangles around and flip-flops in their face a little bit too much for my liking. I'd want that out of my line of vision.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it, what the teams choose to do with that, where they plug it in. We are now seeing most of them with these elastics on the belts, and you can see there the rubber straps around. So those are the little pieces of piping, like the tubing, luminous green tubing, you can see those
You snap though when they shine.
The belts. Sorry?
You snap them and they shine?
No, Jenny, they're
That's
not. They're not for raving. So basically, you can stick your thumbs in those and pull up, and that will release your harnesses. The reason for that is race gloves are actually not very easy to do your harnesses up with. Normally you do your harnesses up nice and tight, you know, as you leave in the paddock, and then you might pull down on those straps. Molly, look, nice relief there to get around safely and quickly, remember. So lots of little modifications like that are allowed. So really the modifications that are allowed between the teams are all about the switch zone. Seat inserts, you're allowed 2 sets of lower lap belts for safety. That is basically because you can't adjust the crutch strap. Big moment for Kevin Hansen on the brakes there into, well, medium moment into the first corner. And the little things like that which just speed it up, where you put your comms cables and so on. Kevin's pushing immediately.
He really is using that handbrake as well, getting a little sideways action. My fear for him is that he's just going to push too far in this Veloce car. Let's see what he can do, though. I mean, he's a brilliant driver. As you can see, Molly now back in command centre and watching on nervously. They've picked up penalties in both of their runs yesterday. 31 seconds in the first run, 24 seconds in the second, but so far clean out there and going well as they head towards the Continental Traction Challenge to try and set a decent time, because Molly set a decent time already. They'll be looking for Kevin to do the same.
So into that Continental Traction Challenge now, gets the car straight before the dip. That was really well done. Rotate it round to the right, watch for the second dip. This is where we saw problems earlier on today. So in, don't go too close on the left-hand side, there's a bump. So he runs the car wide across, nicely done. Going to carry the speed through this next section now. We were on the drone there. Yeah, that's a good run, and he's taken, they're down to 2.6. So they've taken another few tenths off that lead. So they're threatening the top times here.
Yeah, they really are, and he is looking very much comfortable with this car, bearing in mind it's the first time he's gone across to Veloce. They've got a multi-year deal, is it, that he signed with that team? Oh, the back digs in a little bit. Is it going to give him something? Oof. He manages to get out of there. That was really buried down, and I thought for a moment it was going to cause problems. There we go, round, managing to navigate through here. Kevin Hansen, such talent. And he and Molly Taylor combining for the first time this weekend in the Veloce lineup and catching again. You can just see closing down on the time set by the number 99 car.
Veloce have never won a qualifying session. If they can take this session, it would be a first session win for them, and it would definitely be a bit of redemption and a bit of payback. And I think it would justify maybe their team choices. They'll be absolutely loving this if they can do it, Jenny. They're 0.7 of a second now of getting themselves into the lead. Still 3/4 of a lap to go for Kevin Hansen for Veloce. He nips the handbrake twice in the left-hander now, but this is a big push.
Yeah, he's really doing nicely out there at the moment, and it's all coming together for him. He's just got to keep going through. So through the Continental Traction Challenge again, they do this 2 laps. Now he is the fastest out there and setting that time blisteringly. The pace is coming together. He used the first one as a sighter. This, I think, is going to be the one where he challenges to try and put a really decent time together.
Taking risks, but nothing too spectacular. Still some quick teams to come. Remember, Acciona Science, Genesis, Andretti United and Neil McLaren Extreme are still to come. But this is a great performance by Kevin Hansen. He's within a 1/10 of a second. It's just going up and down. Look how close it is between the top 3 teams. 0.2 of a second would see them drop down to 3rd. 0.2 the other way, and they'll take P1, which is where they're sitting right now.
Fastest time, I think, so far was a 41.442. He's gone faster. Hansen posts a 41.227. in that Continental Traction Challenge zone. Remember, it's an addition of his plus Molly's fastest time, but that is a decent time set. 5 points on offer for the team that sets the fastest combined time throughout the course of the weekend, and 5 points in the championship could be massive.
Now, Kevin Hansen also holding the fastest sector time in Sector 4, which is the last one coming up to the line from the previous lap. He gets sideways on the exit of that compression. Now launching that Veloce machine down through this left-hander there, half a second up. If he can do that sector time again on this final lap, it may be that they're going to go P1. You ride on board with Hansen now through another section of dips up again. 0.39 of a second. This couldn't be closer.
Wowzers, he's coming for it. What's he going to manage to post in the end? He's coming across.
Done it.
Fastest. Good job from the team. Brand new this weekend. And Veloce have posted the fastest time. Molly Taylor just wipes away the sweat. And look how much it means to Kevin. He is pumped.
1 minute on the start line.
Well done.
Very pleased indeed. Now there's 0.7 of a second covering the top 3 teams. Veloce, GMC Hummer and Abt Cupra. 0.7 of a second. Abt Cupra did get a 5-second penalty, so they would have been quicker, but that may have given them the advantage they needed to do that time. So very hard earned by Hansen and by Taylor for Veloce. Brilliant performance.
Look at the adrenaline coursing through their body, and really nice. Timmy, who will get in the car next up, or I think it might be a switch in order, but when he gets in the car for Genesis Andretti United, no, it's Katie Munnings and Timmy, he just clapped Molly on the back and said, you know, well done. And of course, brothers competing, rivals, as you can see there, Timmy.
15 seconds.
But they'll be wanting to win, won't they? Each of them in their own respective teams.
They will indeed. P1 and P2 yesterday for Genesis Andretti United in their 2 free practice sessions. They looked very comfortable in this car, but they will be aware of how the track conditions have evolved since they were out yesterday afternoon for FP2. Munnings away from the line will hand over to Timmy Hansen.
They've had some big bangs this year. You know, that car has been feisty for them, so they need to hope that they've set it up well, that they're ready to take on the conditions out here on a very aggressive Uruguay track. But you can just see Katie using the handbrake a little bit as she's going around this track. Into the Continental Traction Challenge zone.
Now they do need the 5 championship points, but they're not in the title hunt, so it's not so important for them to risk everything in this section. What they do need is they need a brilliant result. You know, they want to take a win this season. They got one last year. They've had a P3 this year, and they'll really want to be on the top step of the podium to go into next year. Remember, they've both been signed on a longer-term contract, Munnings and Timmy Hansen, and they'll want to repay that faith that the team has put in them with a great result. They've been so close this year. How many times have we said they're on the pace, they're impressive? It just hasn't gone their way. So they'll be hoping this weekend that it does.
Currently 6th, by the way, in the Drivers' Championship, or the Constructors' Championship standings, just 1 point behind Neon McLaren, who also won a clean weekend. So there really is a little bit of a battle there for position. And as you say, they're not in the championship contention, but they'd like a few extra points, wouldn't they, out there? Risk rewards, we talk about it all the time. Got to do the sensible and right thing, but you've also got to go out there and have a bit of fun.
Now, championship standings, it's worth a little chat. At the minute, we've had a roll for Rosberg X Racing, we've had a roll for X44 Vita Carbon. Acciona Sainz are still in the paddock. We don't even know if they're going to show up. It is advantage GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing, who are P2 in this session at the minute, the only one of the championship contenders who've had a clean run in Q1. So is this going to go the way of the Americans? RJ Anderson standing in this weekend for Kyle LeDuc alongside Sarah Price. It would be an incredible result for them if they could come up from P4 in the standings. They did get that win in Sardinia earlier on this year. They are on 55 points compared to 83, so they're a fair way back.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to hope that literally Rosberg X Racing score 1 point for the entirety of the weekend and no more, and that they score maximum points. But as you say, stranger things have happened, and we know Extreme E is aggressive, and Rosberg X Racing have already suffered 1 big problem. So,
as have X44, an even bigger problem. And they're actually they're 5 points behind Acciona Sainz in P3 and only 11 points behind X44. So even if they don't win it, you think at the end of a championship, if you end up in P1, 2 or 3 as a team, I think that's a great result. And they'll want to win, of course, but you take a podium, that's a pretty decent result as well.
You know, a hyperdrive deployed for Katie Munnings, as you can see her inside the Odyssey 21, just wrestling with the steering wheel a little bit, coming round, a point which has been a problem for others, but Munnings really handling this well, turning through the left hand in the Continental Traction Challenge now, trying to set a decent time. She'll want to set Timmy up as well when he gets into the car, and they can combine and try and set a really fast time. But taking, I think it makes sense, not taking too many risks, but still setting a good time out there.
Just 6.79 off at the minute. Coming towards the end of the lap now, in Sector 3 currently. You'd love to be a fly on the wall, wouldn't you, for some of the chats. There it is again. Off comes 5 seconds right at the end of the lap. Just comparing those. There's something slightly odd going on with timing, which I think is comparing sectors to previous runs of people who've then rolled. So we'll have a look at sector times for you. 24, so yeah, only 2 seconds off.
Do you know
there.
what it is? It's exactly where Gutierrez rolled that car and did the cartwheel. So yeah,
the last 3 drivers we've seen, but it's it just doesn't give you a clear indicator. Well, it does. It gives us an indicator they're taking less risks earlier on in the lap, and then when they get binned, so they're taking the right approach. 2 seconds off is absolutely bang on the pace, and now Timmy Hansen's going to have his eyes on those lap times of his brother Kevin from the previous run. He's going to want to get back out there. They're going to want to stick Genesis Andretti United at the top of the pile in this session.
So you can see there in switch bay number 5, Katie will hand over to Timmy. I mean, this should be slick because they've done it so many times together as a team. They're a very well-established team. No driver changes for them this weekend. So the door should fling up on the Odyssey 21. Look how calm Timmy is. He's just sauntering in, having a little walk. Are they going to talk to each other, say anything interesting? Let's have a listen in. Any words of wisdom? No, Katie just straight out. She takes her seat insert out as well, so Timmy slides into the car. Obviously, you have to make those compromises depending on which driver is in there. And the setup, the body build, all of those things have to be catered for. Plugs in the comms unit, tightens up the buckles, and Timmy Hansen is ready to go. Really nice, relaxed switch zone.
Look at the time they have. We've said it before, haven't they? I think they're probably one of the slickest teams in that changeover zone.
Eons. They'd be campaigning for it to be 30 seconds rather than 45.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Carlos wants it to be a minute. It was interesting earlier, wasn't it? He said that him and Lyra have been working on the switch zone. I wonder if we're going to see them in the switch.
Just trying to have a little earwig.
Yeah, couldn't quite hear, could we?
We're so naughty. Listening in on their conversations. Didn't get much right. Pit limiter comes off. We are go for Hansen as he tries to beat the time of his brother and Molly Taylor in the Veloce Racing team. Oh, and already the back's riding up. Don't take too much risk here, Timmy.
Yeah, on it. Catching 0.8 of a second already. It was a couple of seconds, wasn't it? The gap on the win, maybe even taking a second off.
We've already had some big rolls. If you've only just joined us, then, I mean, go back onto social media, have a look on the internet, Extreme E, and there have been some whoppers, and that's why we're saying caution might be the best mode of operation here, but Timmy Hansen not really paying any attention to us, and that's fine. Let's see what he can do coming around to the Continental Traction Challenge again. This is one of the points where we've seen some issues for drivers already. We've seen X44 crash out, Rosberg X Racing crash out, Hedda Hossas JBXE cross out as well. And the Acciona Science team still to get out there and under investigation because they missed their slot. Can they get into qualifying one at all? Time running out for them. Just one car plus them to run in this session.
Will they be given a penalty if they do get out, Jenny? You know, you can't just go, I want to run later. Effectively, it's not cheating that. You've asked for more prep time. So I think there will be a penalty. What it will be determined by the stewards, 5-10 seconds. But I think they will get a penalty for it.
Yeah, unfortunate, really. They're one of the championship challengers at the moment, but our eyes are focused on this car. It's catching at the moment as Timmy Hansen tries to close down that gap. And look at that, it reels them in, coming down to just over 1 second and chasing down the Veloce team, who are currently at the top of the leaderboard.
Interesting line there, went in very close to the flag, a little bit of handbrake, rotated the car in tight at lower speed. So not risking going sideways through those ruts, gets it straight through the bump sections. More and more people taking the bump dips as straight as they can, which is to try and mitigate that risk in terms of rolling the car, but still look, using all the grass. Watch through, that's the last corner. Up onto the start finish, straight through the middle there. The bump dip looks very different, doesn't it, as you come out of the last corner compared to off the start. And you'll want to join us this afternoon and see 5 cars going through that bump dip. I reckon there's definitely going to be something exciting to watch there. Now just half a second off the lead. Tenths of a second changing in between each one of these gates. Timmy Hansen, Katie Munnings right on the pace.
Right, fastest time through Sector 2 is a 41.227. This is the Continental Traction Challenge area. 5 points up for grabs, and I know Timmy will want to beat the time that's already been set by his brother. Uses hyperdrive in there as well, gives himself the extra 4 seconds of power to try and increase his speed.
Yeah, at the minute, Kevin Hansen holds 3 of the fastest sector times, in fact. Did 2, 3, and 4.
Did all right.
Did very all right, yeah. 0.19 of a second. Couldn't be closer. His brother Timmy's coming for him. Look at that. Flitting from P1 to P4 with just 0.6 of a second. That's because there's 0.778 across those 3 positions so far. Excite Energy Racing then 15.4 back.
He's not done it. He's not gone faster than his brother. He's posted a time of 41.402, 2 tenths off his brother's time. Fascinating battle to watch as we go through this weekend. Will the course get better? Will it get slower? This is your best opportunity to just set a really blistering time, though. When you've got the course all to yourself, you can take whatever line you decide. Fair
bit of dust as well, Jenny, as we see the morning dew dry up a little bit. Track drying, that's going to mean visibility later will not be quite so good, so you're going to want to get a good start and try and be out in front. Gets in close to that flag again. 1.7 off now. I'd have to take some really big risks to try and close that down at the end of this lap. Or crest jump on the left-hand side now. Blasting up towards the line, 1.94 back. There is the finish, and they slot into 4th place, 2.043. Very, very close at the top. 2 seconds between the top 4. They were P1 just 4 or 5 flags ago, maybe 10 flags ago. 4th still good, and you've got to look at the carnage that's happened behind them. I don't think they'll be unhappy with that. It's a solid start to the weekend.
Yeah, I think being sensible is what counts out there, and I think that's exactly what they did. You can see Katie kind of looking a little nonplussed, but
Katie was having a munch there. We caught her having a munch. She saw herself on the camera, and she's decided to hold off on the snacking until she's out of vision again. Timmy releasing his harnesses, just finally able to take a proper deep breath.
So close, though. So close at the top of this. Veloce, followed by GMC Hummer, followed by App Cooper and Genesis Andretti United and Excite Energy Racing. The 5 that have completed their timing so far. Control centre, you can just see where the race control just looking down and trying to make sure we've got some slick running. Now, what happens with Acciona Science? That's my question. I think we'll send Laura Winter around scurrying to try and find out what's going on down there. Going to pop back down for an interview, though, and find out exactly how everyone's feeling right now. 2 cars to run, Acciona Science and the Neon McLaren team. Neon McLaren, the first of our rollers yesterday. In practice, it was Emma Gilmore that went over, so they'll be looking to set a good time without a repetition. Some great action going on out there, as you can see, with the Genesis Andretti United team setting themselves that time of 4th fastest. 5 times on the board, but how close they are. 2 seconds separating the top 4. Incredible. Right, Laura Winter is now standing by. Who's she catching up with now? Let's find out.
Kevin Hansen and I just comparing times here. Kevin, you were absolutely flying. We've just watched your brother, Hansen versus Hansen, bringing it across the line, but 4th place for Genesis Andretti United. 1st place at the moment for you guys. Talk me through your run.
Well, it was really good. I mean, we had a good car. I mean, very comfortable with it out there, and, you know, okay. Hello. No, very comfortable with it out there, and you know, generally I think the team has done a fantastic job on the setup. I really enjoyed driving it, and the lap itself. I try not to take too much risk where I've seen other people have a bit of an issue. So I mean, I'm quite happy with that lap, and nice so far to be in P1 with 2 more to go.
And of course, we've seen a number of rolls this morning as well, some big ones as well. How much is this a balance of risk versus reward? Clearly, you were just behind the limit, but we've seen cars go over it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is what the championship is about. You take huge risks out there. The car is, you know, it can improve a lot in the general build of it, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of improvement to be made, you know, if we can change a lot on the chassis. But we have the setup to work with, and you have to take a lot of risk out there to be fast. But, you know, you have to think of where you take it and so. And I tried to manage that as good as I could. And where I felt comfortable, I just tried to put my lines together. And it was really nice to hear in the ears, you know, that we were 5 seconds behind when I came out. And by waypoint 19, it was like, okay, you're 2/10 ahead. Get it to the finish now. So it was really nice to get the fastest time there.
Great start for a new team as well. Well done to you, Kevin. Well done to Molly. Thanks.
Yeah, good stuff down there, as Kevin just explains. That is pretty happy with that run. There we go, the Neon McLaren team getting ready to go out there. Tanner Faust,
yes, I think so.
in the Vodafone Business Command Centre. Emma Gilmore in the car and waiting to take to the track.
So that must be Emma. Yep.
So Emma Gilmore is on the line in the Neon McLaren Extreme E machine. Had that roll yesterday in free practice. Just really, I think everybody was a little bit flummoxed by it. Just went in ever so slowly, dug in and went over. It was definitely the slowest of the rolls. Even Emma was surprised by it. It's not their first one this year. Emma's had one. Tanner had a huge one earlier on at the start of the season. They took the checkered flag in P1 at the last round. But seeing as about everybody had clipped a flag in that run, unfortunately they were pegged back and they didn't get the win. So we know the pace is there. I'm sure they'll be feeling confident. Having said that, with a roll yourself and having seen 3 more this morning, never the way you want to start your day off. Just got to get the job done here.
Yeah, I've been impressed by this driver pairing, actually. I think it's a clever matchup between Gilmore and Faust. And as you say, they've had some big old incidents so far this season, so they'll be looking for a clean run. Remember, they are 1 point ahead of Genesis Andretti United in the standings in that battle for 5th place in the championship. And they'll be keen just to stay ahead of them, just to ease out that gap if they can. But at the moment, the only thing that really matters is for them to go out there and have a clean run. That's what they need more than anything else.
Yeah, Emma did something clever within those first couple of flags, Jenny. It came down the lead by 2-3 seconds in one little flag waypoint. So something different done in those corners, and the teams will be watching for those little things. Is there somewhere? Is there, you know, some slight alternate line that has just given an advantage? That'll take some time later on. That is where you really earn the money. I'm afraid is in the boring bit of the day where you go back and watch your onboards, go back and watch. Yeah, they'll pour over the broadcast any shots they can get from anywhere just to see if there's any tiny advantage that can be taken, especially on championship weekend. Although the championship contenders have got other things to worry about than having a look back at the onboards, haven't they, right now?
Well, I want to understand what went wrong for them with those spins and try and work out how they can make sure it doesn't happen. And actually seeing a few cars go out there and have a clean run will really galvanise them and go, OK, well, look, people are obviously changing their approaches. They've had to. Sebastian Loeb earlier with X44 before their run said, no, we're not changing the way we do anything. But I think after their roll, everyone's gone, we have to change the way we're doing it.
It was interesting, that, wasn't it? I was surprised. You know, control what you can control. You can control whether or not you roll to a certain extent. And they went with maybe a little bit too much risk. Yeah. Having a little think about some split times here.
Were you?
Yeah, just for a second, you might be able to hear the cogs whirring just a little bit. Shown as P9, of course, they're not P9 because 3 of the teams in front of them rolled later on in their run, so it's comparing them to this point in the run. But at this point in the run, Jenny, they were all taking the big risks. I know what I was thinking about. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski earlier said, after Loeb had said, we're not changing anything, if you remember, Michaela said, we're going to change some things before our next run because the grip has come up a lot. So there they're referring to settings. They're going to do something to the car potentially to make it slide more, dig in less. So you might take away some of the rear grip potentially and let the car slide a little bit more if that's what they feel caused the roll. They did dig in and go over, so you might allow that a little bit more. Gilmore there, running wide, so doesn't put the car into the ruts. Now, whether she's done that on purpose or not, of course, we wouldn't know unless we asked her, but she just took the car in a slightly wider line and avoided going through those ruts that were close into the inside flag. Watch for that.
She's used the Inoa hyperdrive as well during this section when she's trying to set the fastest time possible out there. She looks comfortable, she's catching. Once again, this another sort of danger section, isn't it, where you just got to be a little bit careful, but she handles that pretty well as well. So setting up a decent time out there for Emma Gilmore, who's shown what class and speed she has. And she'll be hoping that she can replicate that this weekend and have a clean, non-steward affected session.
6.78, the gap comes down again in that final sector as we've seen so often. Going to bring the car in for Tanner Faust in just a few moments.
Now their switch zone should be pretty clean there. As we said, they're another established team from this season who should be able to close it out in some style. You can see there, just bottom right, Tanner Faust waiting to get into the car. Another of our American friends who celebrated Thanksgiving as they went into this weekend. They'll be hoping that they can have a thankful weekend here.
Yeah, I saw Tanner's post on Instagram, said, didn't he, was missing friends and family back home. He said this, what was it, something like, this bunch are all right too, which I thought was quite nice. So
Emma disappointed, I think, there with her braking zone entry to the switch. She just didn't seem to be happy with what she'd done, so maybe she just applied the brake a little too soon.
8.5 seconds down into the switch. There is Tanner. They're waving the board there just to let them know exactly where they are. That'll be more important when you've got 5 cars out and you're in the rush of everything. They're coming down to that final switch zone. In they go.
I don't know if that's an advantage to have the final switch zone or the first one. You never quite know which way it's going to work out in the end. But Emma unclips the strapping, the safety net to her left. Gets out, will help Tanner get back in again. Helping with the straps as well. And they've got this polished and well down to a fine art, haven't they, with what they want to do and how they're going to do it. She'll tighten the strap now.
Radio check, brake pressure, 16 seconds.
Radio check, brake pressure, 16 seconds. So 16 seconds is how long he's got to go. Radio check is to remind him to put the comms in, which he's just done. Brake pressure, something different. So again, you heard on the radio there something about brake pressure. So are they monitoring an issue with the car? Did Emma say something potentially about that braking zone, Jenny, that you mentioned on the way into the switch? Unusual to hear them talk about that. That's why we're talking about it and try and point out the things that are slightly different.
I'm sure Laura Winter will tell us what's going on if she can. But up to racing speed again, using hyperdrive there, straight off the line. That's interesting. We're not seeing that one happening before, but that could be a good tactic. Carrying a lot of speed, though, into that first corner. Oh, that is brave.
Yeah, it took about a second off using hyperdrive, immediately leaving that point. Look at Faust backing it in on the brakes. He's actually taken a slightly tighter line there, kept it on the fresh grass, got the rotation done there, and again on the exit, big slide. Coming into the right now, backing it in again. Look, mid-corner, more rotation in the mid-corner there. Flicking it back to the left. I tell you what, he's chucking this about big time, taking a couple of seconds off in those first couple of sectors. Just loses half a second there. Interesting then. Pulls down that right belt a little bit tighter. Yeah, not hanging about at all. Where they deploy that Inoa hyperdrive will be interesting later on today. Yeah, at the moment you're looking at lap time. Later on you might be looking at trying to edge somebody out for a pass.
It's going to be amazing to see 5 cars take this on. It's going to be difficult visibility-wise. You're also balancing out the fact that you know people have had spins so far and that they've lost control of the cars a little bit. So you're not going to be able to take your ideal line unless you're first out there. I feel it's going to be quite an aggressive start. I think that's fair to say, and it will be the guys taking their starts first. So elbows out.
You have to. It's got to be. You've got to really go for it. You need, if you look at the dust trail behind you, really need to be in that first couple of cars, particularly if you want to have a stab at making a pass into maybe turn 2. You've got those bump dips. Who's going to risk it? You know, is anybody going to give up a position through there, or do you just go absolutely full throttle and hope that the bumps work out? That might just have to be the approach if you want to take the win in Q2. later on today. Don't miss it.
So Tanner Faust looking to try and set as fast a time as possible to help decide which of the cars go into which of the qualifying heats and which 4 other cars they'll be up against. That's bearing in mind that all of the cars are going to make it, because at the moment Acciona Sainz haven't managed to get out, and we've had 3 rolls. So let's just see.
Okay, we're hearing that the Sainz car is on the start line, Jenny. So just hearing they've lined up. So it looks like Sainz who are in that title fight, remember. Acciona Sainz, look at Faust backing it in again. I tell you what, he's leaving nothing out there. Tanner's so experienced, he'll have seen the rolls earlier, but in his head he'll be thinking, I'm fine, it's not going to happen to me. And he's already had one big one this year, so he's certainly hoping it doesn't happen to him. But he's not leaving a lot out there at all, gaining on those times comparative to the Hansons who were in the car second earlier on. But yes, Acciona Sainz going to get there running. Will they get a penalty from the stewards for running last instead of P5, which is where they were meant to run earlier on in the session?
You kind of have to think that they might. It is under investigation currently. We haven't had an update on that, but we'll let you know as soon as we can. And here it is Tanner Faust giving it some welly through the Continental Traction Challenge Zone. Let's see what time he posts. The fastest time at the moment is a 41.227. He's just coming through. What can he do? Can he give himself every opportunity for the team to boost themselves up? And it's a 42.8. So not managing to set the time that he needs to really challenge. You can just see there, top right at the moment is the GMC Hummer EV team that have set the fastest time through that section.
Interesting, is it, without X44 and RXR, who are always at the top of that list or very close to it. But still the gap between the top 3 teams, top 4 teams, look just 1.17 seconds. But is the Traction Challenge going away? You know, is the dust coming up to the point where that won't be beaten later on today? If so, then the points are going to go, to say GMC it was, wasn't it? So 5 points towards them, Jenny, would actually put them within range a little bit more, certainly of the P2 and P3 teams, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen with X44 and RXR. There is so much more to play out. We came to the last event thinking RXR were the favourites, but they had drama there. 10 seconds down for McLaren as they cross the line, and they go P5.
Well, a safe run, I think that was. They got themselves a time up there. They had a roll yesterday, so experience maybe just saying, you know, don't go too crazy. Thumbs up from Faust as he gets back, and you can see the team in the Vodafone Business Control Centre. Emma giving us a wave and a thumbs up. Smiles all around. That is good stuff. Positioning themselves in 5th place at the moment. And just 1 car to go. It's the Acciona Sainz team. And I tell you what, if Chip Ganassi Racing managed to get an extra 5 points, they'd be level with Acciona Sainz. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens between those 2 teams. A reminder, RXR 83 points. X44 66, a gap of 17. Then it's Acciona Sainz, this team in 3rd place at the moment, just 6 points behind X44 with 60 points, and then Chip Ganassi Racing on 55. But currently they have the fastest combined time out there in the Continental Traction Challenge, so stand to get another 5 points. So a bit of a break in play here as we wait for the Acciona Sainz team to get going. They've got about another few minutes until they'll take the start of this, and I just wonder how feisty Carlos Sainz will be. It'll be fascinating to see. Right, let's go back down, because Katie Munnings from the Genesis Andretti United team is with Laura Winter.
Yes, she is indeed. Thank you very much, Jenny. Well, Katie, looking at the times, Porsche versus yourselves, that was the real battle, wasn't it? What was the approach for you guys today, having seen the number of rolls that we had in the morning and knowing that you had to get in the car and get it done fast, but get it done safely and cleanly as well?
Yeah, I mean, we had very clear instructions, you know, come home in 1 P. Weren't bothered about the times. Me and Tammy kind of backed off. I think the main thing was for us not to do on the tire, grip out there. I think it was similar to yesterday, only a little bit more grippy. I wouldn't say it changed drastically, but I think as people get more confident and try to push more, then obviously that's when the cars are hooking up. But we were just wanting to think of the long plan there. Me and Timmy were so competitive. We both came back and were like, oh, you know, kind of annoyed because we know that we have more in us. But yeah, we just couldn't be the ones that made a mistake after we've been, you know, given very clear instructions. So yeah, I mean, we can be happy that we made it through quali.
steady, kind of sensible run, and yeah, hopefully it will put us in a good position for the semi-final. But it's a lottery, you know, we never know how the points will work out. So yeah, we just have to be happy that we're here in one piece.
Thank you, Katie. Good luck for Q2.
Thank you.
So saying she was backing off slightly, let's go to the command centre. Emma Gilmore, hello, good afternoon to you. How are you doing out there?
Oh, it's very hot out here today, actually, but yeah, very happy to be safely here in the command centre. Tanner and I both completed our laps, so yeah, very tricky conditions out there.
Emma, yesterday you had that such a strange roll. Was that playing on your mind today after you'd seen the 3 rolls this morning as well?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, it was very much a case of just trying to be as neat as possible, but I was probably just a bit on the conservative side, but we're safely here. So there was a lot at risk, and you know, we know that the points difference isn't so much in Q1, so if we can still be there for Q2 and have a good shot this afternoon.
Did you have a brake issue? We heard you talking about brake in the car, Emma.
No.
Oh, okay.
Must have been something else I was telling Tanner.
Yeah, it's all code work.
The car ran well.
Good.
Yeah, no, the team did an amazing job yesterday, getting the car again for free practice too. So, yeah, outstanding effort.
Lovely stuff. And we're going to let you go, but have a good and safe afternoon. We hope you don't get too hot and flustered out there. It does look warm.
Thank you.
We're not envious at all, are we? It's freezing here.
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah, wet and cold. But it's, yeah, good for Emma and Tanner having a nice, clean run. 9 cars gone. Delay, unfortunately, for Carlos Sainz, but at the minute, Veloce Racing leading the session, Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor. Great job by them. GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing in P2. Does that put them with the championship advantage with, of course, rolls for RXR, X44 Racing and JBXE as well. Acciona Science. We'll have to see how they get on in this final run. Can they do something which will put them in a good position for Q2 later on today?
Okay, on the start. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Well, 2 minutes then until Acciona Science take to the start, and you can see what a stunning location this is. The paddock just by the Atlantic Ocean, not far from 200,000 sea lions. But this is the McLaren out on track and looking resplendent at the hands of Emma Gilmore. She said it was hot out there, and I think a lot of the teams just dialing back just that little bit to make sure they get in a decent time, because they've seen what's happened to these 3 teams that have had big roles. Rosberg X Racing, X44 Vida Carbon Racing and JBXE. So the warning signs went out and you have to pay heed to them, otherwise you get burnt.
Yeah, just talking to Emma, you could tell, couldn't you, had a roll yesterday, saw 3 rolls this morning. Was it playing on your mind? Yes, that's all you need to know. So, and interested in their tactics too, Jenny. They've looked at it and gone, the points difference isn't so much, it doesn't matter. We're fine, we're in P5, happy days, let's get on. When you go racing later on today, maybe you take a bit more risk there, and likewise, full risk tomorrow for the best result. But when you've seen 3 cars roll in a row in this session, you do change your approach to it. 1, it can be a mistake. 2, you're starting to ask questions. 3, there's a pattern emerging. So I think, yeah, definitely a different approach for some of the teams, since we have still seen people risking it, particularly the Hansons and Tanner. I think we're in full send mode. But with 1 car left to go, are we going to see Sainz and Sands in full send mode? And talking about that, there is Laia Sands now sitting in the car. They're going out late. Still no answer on whether or not they're going to get a penalty for it.
Yeah, just says they're still under investigation. Carlos Sainz will watch the first 2 laps and then go out. 3-kilometre course, and one that can really bite you. So what can Laia Sands do out there? So impressive, this pairing, bringing some serious pace to Punta. It's a green light, off she goes. And you can see there, little graphics showing the direction, of course. And you can also see Laia taking a wide left, and the car bouncing all around at the rear end. Looks a little unstable to me at first sight, but that is an aggressive part of the track, and maybe she'll just think, maybe I should... Oh, no, she's going full send. No, don't listen to me.
No, you were right, Jenny, right up until the point she backed it in more than Tanner. Yeah, that was some angle, wasn't it, on the way in there? It really was. Flicks the car around to the left. For someone who still says she's learning cars, I have to say she is doing a fantastic job. Really, to me, a very different driver than last year. Last year, I think you could see she was learning cars. This year, I think it looks to me like she's learned them and she's happy to push. Flag number 8 there again, missing the inside line slightly on purpose, I would say, just to not put the car in the ruts. Now, brake straight, get the car straight early on the exit and get it gunned through that dip and crest. There you go. As long as the car's straight, you'll be right on the landing. You don't want to land with any steering lock on. Then into the right and another dip coming up.
Yeah, just waiting for the timing to come off on this Continental Traction Challenge, because to me it looks like they're really giving it some beans, and they've come in with a 43.153 at the moment. Hard to compare to others who have taken it on the first lap, but I'd be really interested to see what time they'll post on the second lap, which tends to be a little bit faster when it comes to that sector. Car looking great, dust kicking up from the behind it, and they'll know that this is game on for them. They'll know what's happened to their championship rivals out there with X44 and RXR. Having those rolls, keep it neat, keep it safe. Round this left-hander, how far will she go in towards the 20 flag? Not too far into that, a very different line that we saw from Tanner Faust just previously in that neon McLaren car.
Yeah, I might have been tempted to be slightly closer to the flag now. I think in the slow corners, unless they really rut up, you should expect the drivers to be close. Look at that.
Wow.
She goes close enough to the finish line actually to almost pull the branding off it. That's more like it in terms of accuracy. And again, very close in on the number 1 flag. 1.48 off. Laia Sanz is really pushing. If she can get Carlos home, or get Carlos into the car with this kind of a gap, this is very much on, and then it's going to come down to whether or not they get a penalty for running later in the session than they could. We still don't actually know what the problem with the car was. Sure, we can find that out, and I'm super keen as well to know what's going on with X44 and RXR, Jenny, because this session could have decided the championship. Certainly, if one of those cars isn't going to come back out, I reckon we'd have heard by now if they weren't going to come back out. Hyperdrive here as well, Inoa Hyperdrive on that as well. So, wow, Sanz is pushing hard.
Yeah, she really is, and it looks like great fun in that car. She's really enjoying her time out there, and as you say, going from 2 wheels to 4, her first time in 4-wheel competition really last year, and she has adapted to it brilliantly this year, and the pairing of her and Carlos working in union and unison to try and deliver great times out there on track.
Hops out of that crest dip section through the right and then the left. So hyperdrive used, was that used? It was used in this section, wasn't it? So she's used the Inoa hyperdrive in the Continental Traction Challenge. Left-hander coming up. How was that sector time looking?
42.6 in that sector time. So not one of the fastest we've seen, but really hard to get a gauge with the female drivers going first, and then the time zones that we have then wipe over it, but I think that's a really competitive time.
Yeah.
And look, she's gone fastest now. She's really out there and flying. They aren't taking the same sort of holding back tactic that others have. They look like they're really giving it some, and the car that looked to have problems before doesn't have any problems right now by the looks of it.
2.5 seconds up. Do they know something we don't know? If they've been told already it's likely to be a 5-second penalty, imagine if they go out and blitz it by 5 or 6 seconds, take the penalty and still win the session. So plenty to risk it for. Laia Sanz brings the car home in an absolutely brilliant time. Fastest at the moment. She's the first female driver to hand over fastest to her counterpart. Of course, the first people out on track would have been different. Everybody else has come in a couple of seconds back, and she's handing over to Sainz up on time.
Look at the aggression though in her face. You can see her
yeah.
kind of her whole chin and her jaw is tensed up. She's going to come into this switch zone. We've already heard Carlos Sainz saying this is the least favorite bit. They have to get in and out of the car. They're bigger than others, they're older than others, but you know what? They are doing a great job out on track. Just keep it clean at this section. You don't want any silly mistakes. You don't want to engage drive before you should. You've got to keep it smooth. So Laia to Carlos, currently P1, and they want a good switch.
A little bit of smoke coming from the rear left. That might just be from brakes. So brake pads, if your left foot braking a lot, you can get a bit of overheat in the brakes. Not unusual to come in with a few flames off your brake pads as well. That's not a big deal.
Tell you what, if I had to pull in the adrenaline that they've just gone and then try and plug in a comms jack into a port, it would be so tough to do.
It's a great changeover, Jenny. That's a really good changeover. Sands is out, the mechanic is out now. Now it's just a case of waiting until the 45 seconds ticks over and releasing Carlos Sainz. He's had plenty of time to think about it. He's 1.38 seconds up. They're still under investigation. And Carlos Sainz is about to head out and try and win this session, at least on the track.
Fascinated to see what he can do out there. Such a close battle for this championship. And Laya Sands has set him up brilliantly to be able to go out there and set a blistering lap. So 30 kilometres an hour knocked off the pit limiter, and then we go full out, fastest at the moment. Let's see how he can keep this going as we navigate this 3 kilometre lap twice over. So many incidents today. What will Carlos Sainz do? You can just see the steering input there. He's holding it with one hand and almost just feathering the other hand on it to make sure he gets around that corner. Through to the right, into the Continental Traction Challenge. This is where he'll be looking to set a time, and just look at him go. Currently fastest out there and really leaving nothing on this course.
Jenny, there's hope for me yet. Carlos Sainz is a few years older than I am, and he's still as sendy as you like, isn't he? Look, I absolutely love the fact that he is still out there and still competitive. Yeah, what a legend.
He's absolutely brilliant. You combine him with his son's ability for Ferrari, put them in a car together, and it is absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but you should take a little look on socials to see the two of them in a car together. Which one wants to be the backseat driver the most? It's classic.
3 seconds up now. Carlos Sainz is absolutely on it here, so they've gone full risk, Jenny.
Yeah, they have 41.6 his time, so again, not the fastest through that traction challenge, so the 5 points still up for grabs and still looking to go the way of GMC Hummer, which would put them level on points with this team. So there is a lot to fight for out there, still under investigation. We will try and find out what the stewards are going to do as soon as possible, but my word, they are going for it out here.
Okay, so we're not sure we're going to know about this penalty certainly before the end of the run. So I think we've just got to call this as we see it and let the stewards crack on with the decision later. It might well come down to who's deemed responsible. You know, is it the parts thing? Was it the team's fault? And therefore, you know, where does blame lie? You just go, you know what, fair enough. You couldn't have avoided this, or could you? But still at the minute, 2.5 seconds quicker. Comes in super close to that. Branding uses the extra grass on the outside of the track. Look at the focus. Absolutely on it, 2.15 up.
This is a beautiful run from the Acciona Science team. The two of them combining wonderfully at the moment. You can see the challenge that this grass is really imposing on the car. Is sliding the rear end round, hugging close into that little bit of bush, and then straight down towards the Continental Traction Challenge once again. When is he going to use his Anoa Hyperdrive? Don't think he used it last time around, so that's still in the bank if I've got that correct. And then throws the car round to the left. And he's using it now, there we go, got there, the Anoa Hyperdrive deployed, so it gives him a little extra boost. You can see up to 132 kilometres per hour, winding round to the right, and then there'll be the tight left as well. Acciona Science looking to set the fastest time, and right now, he's on it.
He is indeed, yeah. Anoa Hyperdrive in the Continental Traction Challenge. They are looking for those 5 points, Jenny, absolutely, definitely, and we might find out any second now whether or not Science has done enough. Remember, Laya Sands' time was very good indeed. They're currently sitting P1 on the timesheets, 3.14 seconds up with about half a lap to go in this Q1. Dirt flying up from the back of the car. How do those traction challenge times line up? I can't wait to see whether or not they've done enough to go quickest. 2.13, they've lost about a second there, so maybe not. Maybe the exit from that section wasn't quite good enough.
Yep, lead just coming down a little bit, down to 1.65, down to 1.5. This is going to be incredibly close if they can keep first place. The gaps between first and fourth is just 2 seconds, so there's first and third just 0.7. So there's so much here to fight for. This last section getting absolutely spot on is going to be crucial if they want to keep the lead.
They are third in the championship standings at the minute. Acciona Science, Carlos Sainz and Laya Sands. They need all the points they can get. They've sent it in the Continental Traction Challenge. They're 0.65 off potentially winning Q1. And remember, their title rivals have both rolled earlier on today. Acciona Science go quickest in one. It's a brilliant drive by Sainz and Sanz, the Spanish pairing, and the Spanish team go quickest. Have they maybe nicked those 5 points as well in the traction challenge? We'll find that out later, but a brilliant drive.
Fantastic work from them. You can just see they're pouring over the data already.
Oh,
a high five for Leia Sanz. They've done a great job in there. Broken a little bit of hearts at Veloce Racing. They've never topped a qualifying session. They were just so close to it, and in the end separated by half a second.
2.6 seconds separates the top 5 teams in that session. And remember that 3 very quick teams rolled out of contention, all to play for later on today when we're going. Racing Traction Challenge at the minute. Oh, actually on a science for 0.25 off, Jenny. Oh, wow, so close to them taking the 5 points. So that crucially, though, that means the time is still there at the minute. There's 0.25. Did Carlos lose it just on the exit of that section? Were they not quite aggressive enough? Oh, wow, brilliant.
The question mark will come, won't it, with can they do that when there are 5 cars racing each other and it's not single car? Let's find out how Laia's feeling about it. Let's go down to the Vodafone Business Command Centre. Laia, that looked like a brilliant session out there. You and Carlos did a great job leading everybody. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, we are happy in this track. It's quite tight, as we can see with the time, so we'll be like this all the weekend, and we are happy because we had a problem. So now it's nice to be in front, but it's not how it starts, it's how it ends. So let's see.
Now, Laia, it looked to me as though you and Carlos were looking for those 5 extra championship points in the Continental Traction Challenge. You were both very quick in there. You're just 0.25 of a second off the leading time from GMC Hummer. Can you find that quarter of a second and take those 5 championship points?
Will be not easy. I think now was the time to do it, because when you are racing with more cars, it will be really tough to improve the times. Also, the track is getting more broken, and we will see.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Okay, we did wonder about conditions, but with 5 cars on track as well, are you looking forward to the racing portion later today?
Yeah, of course. We are excited to race. Let's see. It will be very important for tomorrow. Try to have a better semi. It's not easy because now the level is so high and everybody is so strong. So we will see. Everything can happen.
Well, congratulations, Leia. Congratulate Carlos for as well. Brilliant teamwork.
Thank you very much.
And fascinating for what that could do for the championship. Let's just say that it stays as it is and Chip Ganassi Racing get those extra 5 points from the Continental Traction Challenge. They'll be level on points with Acciona Sainz. So you'll have Chip Ganassi Racing and Acciona Sainz both on 60 points, 66 for X44, RXR on 83 points. Let's go down to Laura Winter, which is one of our newbies.
Well, Fraser, not able to get out this morning. Obviously, first and foremost, header is okay, and that's exactly what we like to see. But for you, I'd imagine it's been a frustrating wait. You're itching to get going on your first weekend.
For sure. You know, like you said, most important thing, header is okay. I was really happy with her pace before the incident. And, you know, we're just doing anything to keep her spirits up to make sure that, you know, she can go back out there and do exactly what she did and even faster. So, you know, not too worried. She's very objective in the way she thinks. So she's not really phased by it, which I like very much. But yeah, just the guys are doing everything they can to get the car ready. It will be ready and go flat out in Q2.
It will be ready flat out in Q2. So that's your approach. You're going for full risk. I guess you guys have to. Nothing to lose.
You know, nothing stupid, of course, but you know, go out there and drive as fast as I can and bring home the car in one piece.
Absolutely. What's the aim for the weekend for you guys as well at JBXE?
No mistakes and one step at a time, and you know, enjoy ourselves.
I love it. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you, Fraser, this afternoon.
Thank you, guys.
Good stuff from Fraser McConnell, new to the championship. He's been the championship driver, but this is the first time he's actually getting a go in a seat with JBXE, and it must have been one of the highlights of his life to get a phone call from a certain Mr. Jenson Button saying, hey, you know what, you want to come and drive for me? Pretty cool.
I think it's very cool. I think it's very. I noticed Fraz as well has been very active on social with the grid play votes, and he's got a lot of support in Jamaica. So you never know. Maybe they'll get the result they're looking for.
So here is the classification. Remember, these points aren't points paid out, but they do go to come together to give us a kind of accumulation of what they and how they lie going into tomorrow's racing. So really important to get it all sorted and make the best approach you can. At the moment, you can see Acciona Science, 10 points and no points right now for RXR, X44 or JBXC not managing to complete their 4 laps.
Race portion still to come. Remember, if you win a race, it will be 10 points. So the 2 winners of those races, if Science and Sands were to win a race, that would stick them on 20 points, give them the top qualifier. Could that close the gap down to the championship leaders? All to play for.
Well, beautiful shots there of the Atlantic Ocean. The reason we're here is to race for a reason. And it's all about renewable energy this weekend. 98% of the electricity comes from renewable sources in Uruguay. It's quite something. It's an ambition I think every country would have. An ambition right now in the car for our leaders of qualifying 1, the Acciona Science team of Leia Sands and Carlos Sainz. But the team's still under investigation. Worth pointing out that they will go to see the stewards. They'll probably plead their case, which is why they've waited till after the session so they can actually go there and have a conversation about what's happened. And we shall find out if they're going to be penalised or if they're A-OK for missing their starting slot when it came to qualifying order.
I'm looking at the times, Jenny, and just thinking, what's likely? You know, our stewards, it tends to be, you know, nothing, they win. 5 seconds would drop to P6 because it was so close at the top of the table. 10 seconds would actually still lead them in P6. So I think you're going to find them either first or sixth once the stewards have made their decision. Again, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in there as people, you know, try and press their side of the story. It wasn't our fault. It's nothing to do with us. You can't give us a penalty for that. Or, you know, the other side, we think it was. So you'll find out later on today exactly where they sit. And I say accumulation of points from Q1 and Q2 will give us our qualifying positions, our top qualifiers and lineups for tomorrow's semi-finals and Crazy Race. 3 into each semi-final. Top 2 go through from each of those, and 5 go through, 4 through to the Crazy Race. Only 1 will make the final from there. Might we see X44 and RXR? Remember, only 1 going through from the Crazy Race. If they both end up in there, Jenny, one of the title hopes will end in that Crazy Race tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, actually, isn't it? There are so many kind of different championship conundrums that we're going to have over the course of this weekend. It will ebb and flow. And I tell you what, they're going to be very busy, hard at work at 3 of those garages with Rosberg X Racing, X44 Vida Carbon and JBXC, all trying to furiously fix their cars in time for the second part of qualifying, when we see all of those finishing on an odd number go through to qualifying 1, and those finishing on an even number going through to qualifying 2. And I think that's going to be some quite interesting and feisty matchups if you look down that queue. And if Acciona Science don't get a penalty and the Chip Ganassi team get those 5 extra points for the Traction Challenge, they're level on points and they go into the same qualifying. 5 cars going head-to-head against each other for the first time around this 3-kilometre track. It's going to be incredible to watch. So much at stake.
Absolutely, championship at stake, second year's title winners at stake. Somebody new, or well, it will be somebody new, even if RXR win again. Arlek Kolinski will be her first title. So yeah, everything to play for, and Acciona Science have thrown down big time in Q1.
Well, Acciona Science have done a brilliant job, but just looking at the sectors, they didn't set any of the fastest sectors, did they?
No, but that ideal lap time is very hard to come by. On your screens there, you can grab your phones and you can take a quick look at that QR code, and that will take you to Grid Play, where people are voting to see who they would like to get a choice on their grid position. The drivers kind of you know, well, I'll tell you what, let's explain a bit more. Here you go. In the build-up to the final at each Extreme E X Prix, fans can show their support and vote for their favourite teams and drivers through Grid Play, with voting taking place via the Extreme E website. The team that collects the most votes win Grid Play and gets first grid position pick for the final, and have an opportunity to massively influence the start of the race. But there is a twist. The teams that do not reach the final can donate their votes to any other team, with the winners of the Crazy Race unable to receive any additional votes. With a strong start being key to a good X-Prix result in Extreme E, Grid Play can make or break a team's chances of success. Which team will emerge as firm fan favourites?
And you do have a feeling that grid play could be so important this weekend. Getting the first pick of where you want to be, absolutely crucial.
Well, imagine if we end up, is my mind, X44 and RXR end up in the crazy race. One of them gets loads of votes but doesn't make it. Then what do they do with their votes in the championship fight? As you say, it could be the most influential grid play ever. Okay, Laura's with Cristina Gutierrez. So I wonder how X44 are getting on with those car repairs. Are they going to be there?
Well, Cristina, so sorry to see you roll the car. I know physically you're a little bit stiff. The car behind a lot of work going on. Will you guys make it out to Q2?
Yeah, we try to do everything. The car now is totally destroyed. It was a disaster for my mentality also. We can see what they can do, maybe repair all the car and start the quali 2 to try to be in the final.
You mentioned your mentality after a big roll like that. Of course, we're now going into 5-car racing. So how are you going to approach this?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation for us because I felt quite okay in the lap. I was faster, but I can't expect the reaction of the car in this corner. I don't understand. I still don't understand what happened in this corner, and we need to check everything, the onboards and everything, and maybe we can fight for something big.
Well, sorry to see, but good luck this afternoon. Thanks for your time.
Okay, well, Gutierrez saying it was a disaster for her mentality. That's quite strong words, but it just fills you full of nerves, doesn't it? The idea of maybe the same happening again later on. That's... what's he got in the, oh, so the drinks bottle. I thought it was more car parts. Seb Loeb out of his race suit into his shorts, full chill.
Yeah, you have to feel sorry for her to have taken that big hit, because it was a big one as the car cartwheeled across. These guys have so far set the fastest time when it comes to the Continental Traction Challenge. They'll be keen to keep those 5 points. Can anybody else battle for them? Well, let's find out a little bit more about Sarah Price, because she's been helping talk to us about Count Us In. As the first sport to ever be built with a social purpose, in Season 1 of the championship, Extreme E joined forces with Count Us In. This season, Extreme E fans around the world have continued to take positive steps in their everyday lives towards the initiative.
Could you explain me how the Count Us In works?
The Count Us In challenge is actually really cool because the teams have an ability to win a sustainability award at the end of this. So if you go to Count Us In, you can choose your step, and that step you can donate to whatever team that you choose, which it should be Chip Ganassi Racing.
Should be Sarah.
And then, yeah, basically you pledge with us and you stand with us in trying to do better. Explain how important that is and how people can actually be involved and how they can do better in their daily life to help the world.
More things that you can do at home that will make a change. You know, that's the beauty of that you connect. Everyone can do something to change how the world could be different from where we are now. Let's take one point that you just mentioned, which is waste food. What you can do at home. Try not to waste food. Think about everything that you buy at the supermarket, that you are really going to use it. Use it at the best way.
It's just not being wasteful with anything. That comes to single-use plastics, you know, try to use a tumbler more often. Instead of throwing away plastics that end up in our oceans or end up all around the world, it's really a sad thing to see. Just all these little things, and they add up to be such a big thing.
Everyone can do their bit, and that's what we need. We need action from everyone. That's what the planet needs now, because we don't have another planet. That's the only one we have. And that's where we need everyone taking action to reduce everything that we've been doing to the planet.
With just one round left of Season 2, it's not too late to make a Count Us In pledge for your favourite team.
Don't forget about the Sustainability Awards. We're going to need your help to take a step to help get our team to the top of the leaderboard.
Count us in for the Sustainability Award and vote. We need your votes. Chip Ganassi Racing. Lock us in. Let us win this championship.
If you're watching, take a step for our planet and please vote for Excite.
So of course at RXR we love to win and we want you guys to win with us. So take a step with us and Count Us In so we can win the Sustainability Award together.
We are leading the board for Count Us In, so continue to vote and continue to do steps to save the planet.
Well, there we go. The teams all pleading for your votes for this. They'll want the same as well later on for the grid play votes too. So much to play for, but I think most of that's going to play out on track. It's been a fascinating session, Jenny. 3 rolls plus the one from yesterday, including our 2 championship front runners. Oof.
I have to say I've been very impressed by the new lineup at Veloce Racing. Kevin Hansen teaming up with the reigning champion Molly Taylor. Of course, she's missed a few rounds, but she is now back on a deal that will see her race for Veloce next year, and the two coming together really well. Almost enough to get the top of that session, but not quite.
Yeah, it was Acciona Sainz who went quickest by 0.5 of a second. Will they get a penalty for running out of order after they had to make late repairs to the car? If they do, then Veloce will win their first ever qualifying session. As you say, looking forward to next year. Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor, I think some of the other teams are going, you know what, we need to sign some drivers up ASAP. We know that Timmy Hansen and Katie Munning has been signed already, but you know, this title fight on the line, drives on the line for next year. Multiple cars going racing on this tight, twisty, and maybe now dusty and rutted track as well. It's going to be a brilliant afternoon.
Carlos Sainz bringing the home after Lea Sancet, a very impressive time out there. They were the top qualifiers in qualifying 1, and my word, they put on a show for us. They didn't care whether there'd been rolls, spills and thrills earlier on today. They just went out there and absolutely blitzed. I think some people went a little too safe. They'll have to adjust that. But as you can see, the finishing position so close with just 2.6 seconds separating the top 5.
And where will RXR and X44 Vita Carbon slot in, and JBXE, of course? Fraser McConnell and Heather Hozas can't be counted out in terms of pace. Where are they going to slot in Q2? It's been so quick between them. Right-hand side of your screen, that is the current grid play votes. And look, it's X-Vita Carbon Racing versus Apt Cupra XE. Acciona Sainz in there as well. Might have a crucial role in the championship deciding weekend.
So how will 5 cars navigate and negotiate this 3-kilometre long track? We've seen plenty of drama. Make sure you come back for later on when we go racing in Punta Del Este.